Part 30. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 294. Brother. Why is your face covered with gauze again? Sakakibara glanced at his sister and sat back in his seat. Why didn't you reply? Sakakibara looked at his sister again. Sakakihara Suzu put her hands on his shoulders and shook her vigorously. Brother, talk. Brother, brother. Why are you? Sakakihara was dissatisfied and slashed with the knife, ending her shaking. Pain. Sakakihara Suzu was forced to take back her hand. She said hey and closed her eyes. After calming down, she raised her dissatisfied cheek and said angrily. Why are you hitting me? It hurts. I'm just caring about you. Care. Sakakibara's eyelids twitched as her cheeks were covered with white gauze. The hand knife that hit her on the head turned into a fist and a drill. As he drilled, he gritted his teeth and said with dissatisfaction. Aling, my good sister, you are in the school classroom now. I really don't know if you haven't woken up yet. You didn't even notice that we came here on the tram together. Stop. Stop. It hurts so much. Sakakihara Raku continued, no, this is not the point. We sat down to have breakfast and you didn't notice it, which is enough to show that there is something wrong with your intelligence. You are the one with intellectual problems. Sakakihara Suzu couldn't stand him drilling her head like this, so she used all her strength to barely fight away his fist. Toss messy short hair. Then you just now discovered that your brother's face is covered with gauze. It's not my problem. That's your problem, idiot Ailing. Idiot Lele. Stinky Lele. Sakakibara Suzu rubbed her green-haired head that was sore from being drilled just now, held back her messed-up hair, and took the initiative to explain. I came back at 11 o'clock last night, okay. I was so tired from singing and dancing. I went home and fell asleep after eating, so I didn't have time to pay attention to you. And in the morning, I wasn't asleep yet. Wake up, it's not your fault for waking me up so early. I came to school and lied down for a while before I felt good and energetic. Sakakibara kept nodding in agreement. Understand, understand, the life of a big white pig is like this. When tired from running, he returns to the pen and falls asleep. He is patted on the butt and driven up without knowing what to do. The whole day unexamined. You are the pig. It's so annoying. I did it because of my work. Besides, have you ever seen anyone? Sakakihara Suzu was not convinced. She pinched her fleshy face and pulled it out hard. There is such a beautiful pig. There are always fat pigs who always think they are beautiful. Seeing her pulling her cheeks, admitting that she was a pig, and saying that she was beautiful, Sakakibara couldn't help laughing. Suzu Sakakihara realized that she had been tricked and said angrily, if you call me a pig again, I will ask my fans to beat you. Sakakibara continued to laugh at her. Why are you so naive, Suzu? Even if you call your fans here and see me, you will greet me in a friendly way, and then willingly hand me snacks, and actively flatter me and ask for them. Your information. I'll beat you, beat you, beat you to death. It's useless, it's useless, it's useless, it's all useless. Oh, yeah. I won't tell you this anymore. After playing around for a while, Sakakihara Suzu got tired and gave up arguing with him. So why does your face look like this? Sakakibara briefly explained the reason. Sakakihara Suzu understood the reason, became serious, and carefully observed his face. Will it leave scars? It's hard to say, after all, it's a second-degree burn. Sakakibara looked at Amami Snow behind Sakakihara Suzu. Huh? Is it really possible to leave a scar? Sakakihara Suzu noticed her brother's gaze, and then realized that Yuki was here too. Then, brother, what will you do with your face in the future? Are there many burnt areas? It's a lot, otherwise I wouldn't have put gauze on it. Sakakibara discovered that Minazuki was always looking at him. Sakakibara turned back to Sakakibara Suzu and said, I just said it was possible, not absolute. Sakakibara Suzu nodded quickly and said with absolute certainty, no, it means there will be no scars. Well, there will be no scars. It will heal automatically in 2 days, don't worry, brother. Sakakibara couldn't figure out the meaning of Suzu's words. It seems that she is telling her to herself, but in fact she is taking care of Shigu's mood and does not want her to feel too guilty. That's for sure. Sakakibara Rakia nodded. More than 10 minutes later, teacher Tsukimirai walked into the class and started the morning meeting. The content is also some daily matters of the school. By the way, the two sisters Tianhai Julie Yulai and Tianhai Kaimingyu will be back in class today. Kiju is coming back to class. Sakakibara thought the teacher's casual remark was a good thing. It's been almost a week, and I don't know if their relationship has improved. I haven't had the chance to interact with them, but I should be a little more friendly. There is a 10-minute preparation gap after the morning meeting. Sakakibara went to the toilet, washed his hands, and shook off the water. When he came back, he bumped into Amamikururi at the corner of the stairs. Western-style school uniform, long flaxen hair, black pantyhose, dignified manner, and a beautiful face that is so exquisite that you will fall in love at first sight. She is exactly the same as the perfect girl who usually attracts all the students in school. Amamikururi smiled the moment he accidentally saw Sakakibara Raku, and called out briskly, Raku-kun. After not seeing each other for a long time, it was obvious that Liuli was really thinking about herself. His personality doesn't seem to be as dark as before. I'm back to class. Sakakibara smiled and responded, quite liking Ruri in her current state. Well, Tianhai Julie Yulai, who was carrying a small black school bag, walked over with brisk steps, took the initiative to hold his arm, and hugged him naturally. I have been delaying some time recently because I wanted to do something. But mainly because of my father's request, I couldn't bear to be separated from Lejun for so long. To do something. I will never tell the secret to ordinary people, but if it is Lejun, I will consider it if you ask me a few more times. Since you don't want to say anything, I definitely don't want to ask any more questions. Have you had breakfast? Have eaten? Are you so happy to answer? Because I haven't seen Lejun for a long time. What's wrong with your face, Lejun? Raku Sakakibara briefly explained it, emphasizing that it would leave no scars. Does this mean I need to apply ointment? It's not needed at the moment, it's been applied. Yeah, let's go back to the classroom. Where is Nanamayu? Sakakibara Raku was dragged away by Amamikururi. July. No matter what she does, let's go, let's go. Tianhai Julie Yulai had not taken 2 steps up the stairs when he glanced at Tianhai Kaimingyu, who was standing below, holding the shoulder strap of a small school bag with both hands and showing no expression. She gave her a smile. Sight, 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 sight. There are sights all around. Sakakibara Raku had anticipated this outcome when Amamikururi walked into the grade 2 class 1 classroom holding his arm. The students around him, without exception, all focused their eyes on him and Tianhai Julie Yulai, who was holding his arm and seemed particularly close. She stayed close to him, walking beside him. She smiled happily and looked at her face from time to time, or took the initiative to pull her arm, acting like a girl who was so happy that she wanted to show off because she had a boyfriend that everyone admired. Everyone can see the sweetness between lovers in themselves and her. The classmates, seniors, and juniors all around were whispering around the two, saying, "It's a perfect match, I didn't believe it when I heard it, and Tenkai-san is so beautiful, and Sakakibara-san is so handsome." Similar discussions. There are also some inexplicable gossips that ordinary students should not know. I heard some seniors whose families work in Kazumagaseki say before that Sakakibara-san is now the heir appointed by the head of the Tenkai group. That super rich Chable? It seems like my family's car was made by them. Not only that, don't say you haven't taken their medicine. Moreover, everyone in the school knows about the Tianhai family. You can understand it by doing a little research on the internet. Does this mean that Amami-san and Sakakibara-kun are already privately engaged? I don't know, but the senior said it's very possible. After all, we are all heirs, right? The most basic requirement is that the relationship be recognized by the elders. I heard that during the previous class's outing, the two of them kissed in public. The classmates who talked about this were in an uproar. Tisk. Everyone was very excited, but Tianhai Kaimingyu, who was walking behind and was surrounded by people blessing her, clicked her tongue in disdain. She didn't know if her sister was always so lucky. As soon as she came to school, she met Sakakihara Raku, who was going back to the classroom. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had such an opportunity to go back to the classroom with great fanfare. The previous incident at Shinjuku-Gion National Garden also paved the way for the current atmosphere between the two of them. Because the two were already celebrities in school, everyone was skeptical about the rumors of whether the two kissed in public. Now it seems that the rumors are true and the relationship between the two is also true. If this is uploaded to the internet again, there will be news about members of the Runto band confirming their relationship. This is another big topic. Sister, it's disgusting. And he knew that he would do it later just to provoke himself. Tianhai Kaimingyu closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and then walked straight back to the classroom. Calm down. As soon as she entered the classroom, Tianhai Chi-Minjiu saw the two people surrounded. Raku Sakakihara and Kururi Amami were all surrounded by their classmates. And he kept explaining some insignificant questions such as when did you date, why did you fall in love with each other, how long have you been dating? Yes, it doesn't matter at all. Calm, calm, calm. Tianhai Kaimingyu sat back in her seat, put her school bag on her lap, comforted herself, and took a deep breath again. The sounds of discussions between classmates and them came from my ears. Does Hai-san know about the relationship between the monitor and the deputy monitor that day? Did you inform the band members when you were dating? Tianhai Yuli immediately smiled and replied, of course. Everyone knows about my relationship with Lejun, and Chi-Minjiu also bless me and Lejun. She understands the relationship between me and Lejun very well. Right, July. With Tianhai Yuli's active guidance, all the students looked towards him. The sights came one after another, all watching. It's tight, my forehead is tight. The fists also tightened. My sister is really good at killing moves? Tianhai Kaimingyu closed her eyes, stopped taking the book from the small school bag, and said in a completely relaxed tone. Yes, I bless my sister very much. I am also fully aware of the fact that Sakakibara-san is dating my sister. As a sister, I sincerely hope that they can fulfill their promise, get married smoothly, and that they can get married smoothly. Accompany my sister to put on her wedding dress. Thank you so much, July. Sister, why are you so polite? This is what you should do. Tianhai Chi-Minjiu's expression was as calm as water, but her hand almost broke the gel pen she held in her small school bag. As Tianhai Yuli continued to talk about the topic, his classmates happily blessed him again. Sakakihara Suzu was a bystander at this time. She knew the relationship between these people clearly, so she could fully understand how they were feeling now. But, what does this have to do with her little angel Suzu-chan? Tear it apart, whatever you want. Only if you tear it up will I be happy. The corners of Sakakihara Suzu's mouth turned up. Wait a moment. She seemed to have thought of something and took the initiative to look at Tianhai Kaimingyu. It seems that the little fox is at a disadvantage now. Do you want to go and add fuel to the fire? Make them fight harder? Sister Chan Tianhai suddenly took the initiative to speak. What's wrong? Sakaki Harasuzu responded. Sister and brother are too close now, don't you think? Have you forgotten your responsibilities? Or have you become accustomed to it unknowingly? Yes. Sakaki Harasuzu suddenly stood up, hurriedly ran to the middle of the two people who were surrounded, and used an excuse to pull Sakaki Hararaku away alone. The time came for the second class in the morning, which happened to be a physical education class. The fact that Sakaki Bararaku and Amamai Kururi were confirmed to be in a relationship this morning has not died down in the school circle, and there is still a lot of discussion. Sakaki Hararaku has heard most of these remarks during this time. Sakaki Hararaku kissed Kururi in public, the two of them held hands at Shinjuku-jion before. Sakaki Hararaku even touched Kururi while kissing. Sakaki Hararaku admitted that it was true, but he didn't want to admit the last one. But unfortunately, rumors always spread like this, and he was not shameless enough to touch Liuli while kissing. The schedule for this physical education class is tennis training. Taking advantage of the fact that the sun had just emerged and the sunshine was still very warm and comfortable, the students from Class 1, Grade 2, under the leadership of Fujino, the sports committee member, changed into their sportswear and came to the playground. The physical education teacher arrives, gathers, runs laps, warms up, and then there is free practice time. Raku Sakakibara observed Amamai Kururi and Amamai Nanamajetsu, who had just returned to school. The two of them were stunned and didn't say a word to each other. There is also a sharp contrast between them. Tianhai Yuli is surrounded by everyone, while Tianhai Kaimingyu has no one to pay attention to her. Sakakibara. What does it feel like to kiss the eldest daughter of the Amamai family? Can you describe it to me? Sakakibara looked away. Fujino, I understand your curiosity, but I have no comment. Kissing a girl is not worth showing off. Then why are you kissing in public? That's the daughter of the Tianhai family, do you understand? Fujino Yoshiyuki was very confused and still couldn't suppress the curiosity hidden in his words. I didn't mean to hide it. It's just that Liuli couldn't restrain her love for me and had the urge to express her feelings. I understood this impulse and responded to her, but I didn't expect everyone's response to be more enthusiastic than I thought. Fujino Yoshiyuki looked contemptuous, but he suddenly raised a hand. Sorry, Sakakibara, I'm leaving first. Oh. Just when Raku Sakakihara was wondering why Fujino left suddenly like a robot, he felt a burst of cold air behind him. Looking back, I saw the 7 bright moons in the sky and sea. Brother, do you have nothing to say? Sakakihara said helplessly, what can I say about the struggle between you two? About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 295. What can I say about the fight between you two? In the physical education class, Sakakibara couldn't help but take a look at Nanamai. At the same time, he also noticed that Suzu was eavesdropping in the shade of the tree behind Nanamai. And if you come to me directly in Kyo now, won't it be easy to attract attention? As a member of the band, it is only reasonable for me to come and chat with you for a few words. Tianhai Kaimingyu responded calmly. In fact, by now, she found that some classmates had noticed her actions. Rumors don't care whether our relationship is reasonable or not. Tianhai Kaimingyu sneered at this statement, I don't care. Or are you saying that I'm afraid? No, I just want to remind you Chi Minjiao. I think you care about this, and I don't like to hear unfavorable remarks about you. I feel uncomfortable because of these words. You will, July. At least I will. The air suddenly fell silent for a while, and Sakaki Hararaku noticed Amamai Kururi playing tennis at the side. Wearing a clean white sportswear, she enjoys the attention of everyone like a star. Girls are envious, and boys unconsciously show affection for her. Tianhai Julie Yulai noticed Tianhai Kaimingyu who was talking to her, but she had no intention of stopping her. Instead, he smiled when Sakaki Hara looked at him, full of calmness. She also motioned to Tianhai Kaimingyu to come over and play tennis. Sakakibara returned his gaze and said, "Now it's Julie Yulai's actions that you can't accept in Kyo, right? I hope you understand clearly, brother, that my sister and I are currently in a state of incompatible hostility." After Tianhai Kaimingyu said these words, he left alone. Sakakibara Raku watched as she picked up her tennis racket and headed to Amamai Kuruuri's territory. Sakakibara Suzu, who had been eavesdropping from behind, came over at this time and followed Sakakibara Raku to look at the back of Amamai Nanamajetsu. What did she mean by what she just said? "Suzu, you didn't hear it?" Sakakihara asked. "No, who knows what's going on between you two? It sounds to me like Chi Minjio just wants to find someone to complain to." Sakakibara supported his back with one hand and said helplessly, "Nana Mingzuki is really not here to complain to me. She is here to express her attitude to me and ask me not to try to persuade her on this matter." "Has she made up her mind?" Sakakihara Suzu blinked. "It should be said that both of them have made up their minds," Sakakibara explained. "Brother, aren't you going to persuade them?" "Persuasion? How to persuade? They all said they don't need my persuasion. Or maybe a ling, you can give me a trick." "Who wants to help you with something like this?" Sakakihara Suzu said, but she also thought about it carefully. "Brother, are you going to coax them separately? I don't agree with you doing this. If they fight, I will fight. Everyone is happy." Sakakihara put his hand on his sister's green-haired little head and rubbed it. "According to your idea, I will coax them. What will be the final result? Reconcile. Idiot, they will fight harder. They all know my thoughts now, and no matter how much I try to coax them, I still can't get around their unwillingness to compromise. This thing can't be persuaded. If it's a ling, you can take the place of Kiju. Would you accept any advice from anyone knowing my thoughts?" With his head being touched, Sakakihara Suzu thought carefully and seriously about the possibilities during this period. Finally, she came to a conclusion: "I will stab you with a knife." "Look, you said so." Sakakihara Suzu seemed to understand something. "So, Chi Minjio and Julie Yulai have really good tempers. They didn't even want to stab you, brother, for being such a scumbag." Sakakihara continued to explain, "That's because they took the initiative to focus on the confrontation with each other, and I was an outsider at this time. I probably understand. But bro, is it really okay if you don't do anything? Shouldn't you try to find a way to reconcile them?" "Who said I didn't do anything?" Sakakihara withdrew his hand from her head. "In my capacity, there is no way to reconcile their feelings for each other. And haven't I tried it? The band and taking you on a trip together are what I did. Action. Sakakihara Suzu heard the embarrassment in her brother's words. "Actually, he doesn't want this, right? In fact, I just wanted to be sincere to Julie Yulai at the beginning, right? But Julie Yulai did something like that to him again in the middle, and Chi Minjio kept restraining him with things from his childhood. In order to allow himself to respond to the wishes of the two people, that's why he wanted to take the initiative to admit that he was a scumbag and wanted to take care of Chi Minjio and Julie Yulai's emotions, right?" Sakakibara Suzu found that she couldn't figure out the relationship between the three of them. It was so complicated that her head hurt when she thought about it for a moment. "Brother, he seems to be wrong, but also seems to be right. Chi Minjio Julie Yulai also seemed to have made a mistake, but he was not wrong in this matter." Snapped. Sakakihara Raku patted Sakakihara Suzu on the back. "Why hit me? You don't have to think about our things. If you really can't figure it out and you have to think about it, then you just need to understand that many things in this world are not black and white. Then what action did you just talk about, brother? Inaction is the best thing to do to Kiju now. Instead of asking them to agree to my ideas, I should use this time to improve myself. Besides, it is disrespectful to ask for perfection or use tactics to change each other's ideas. It is an expression of their own will. To do so is just to beg them to accommodate themselves like a poor little brat. This matter must be solved by themselves. Raku Sakakihara went to practice tennis with his classmates. Sakakihara Suzu watched him leave. She didn't even know why her brother seemed to have figured out many things so clearly. While being transparent, there was also a strong sense of exhaustion in his tone. I heard that my brother seems to have been learning about the Tianhai family from his uncle recently. My uncle also told me that my brother is very talented and has a strong financial sense. He can analyze the stock market and directly increase the value of the stocks he bought by several operations times the value. She didn't quite understand this, but it felt like her brother had returned to his previous state. That kind of state where no one supports, no one understands or can care about him. Should I put down my work recently and spend some time with him to relax or something? On the tennis court, Raku Sakakibara put on tennis clothes, and stood opposite Yoshiyuki Fujino from different angles on the tennis court, looking at each other. Under the sunny sunset, it looks particularly dazzling. Both sides were breathing the slightly warm air, as if they were preparing for a vigorous contest. With a serve from Sakakihara Raku, the contest officially began. Both sides tried their best to move as quickly as possible to break through the opponent's defense. However, Fujino did not have any obvious advantage in this game. It can be said that he was completely beaten by Sakakihara Raku. 0-1. 0-2. 0-5. Ogai Nishijima, wearing glasses, ruthlessly flipped the scoreboard beside the two of them. Sakakibara. Are you such a pervert? Can you save some face for me? You are the sports committee member after all. Fujino Yoshiyuki was sweating profusely and panting heavily as he looked at his score. Raku Sakakihara swung his racket and scored another point. Fujino. Scores are earned by yourself, not given by others. Then just wait for me. Fujino Yoshiyuki then tried his best, and the fierce confrontation lasted for a long time. He seemed to use his strength to the extreme to respond to Sakakihara Raku's tennis balls that were as fast as cannonballs. When he was beaten 0-21, he even attracted the senior next door. Fujino seemed to know him. Hey, Sakakibara, you're in a little trouble. This is the current ace of our school's tennis club, third-year senior Nagamura. Fujino introduced him to Ichiban, and after Sakakibara shook hands with him, he started the contest without saying anything else. As time goes by, the competition between the two sides becomes more and more heated, and each side seems to be completely excluding the other. The beats became faster and faster, and each time Sakakibara was able to quickly hit the opponent's hole, putting tremendous pressure on the senior, as if to lock the opponent firmly in his own rhythm. After tennis practice, the female classmates watching the two couldn't help but whisper. Nagamura-senpai doesn't seem to be able to defeat the squad leader. Squad leader, are you so powerful? Hasn't Sakakibara-kun always been the strongest person in sports in the school? Everyone says that no one in the school can beat him in physical strength. The power of both sides collided fiercely, the air on the tennis court became thicker, and the fierce competition made the surrounding audience feel their passionate momentum. In the end, Sakakihara was surprised and won the game. The senior was obviously a person with a good attitude and was willing to admit defeat. He shook hands with Raku Sakakibara and ended the confrontation. Junior is really awesome. The senior is just letting loose. I never give up. My belief has always been to go all out. However, my junior's offensive rhythm is too fast and very powerful. I can't even parry a few balls. It's best not to practice like this in normal times, as it can easily hurt the body. Thanks. After putting down his racket, Raku Sakakibara walked off the tennis court under the gaze of many female classmates. I could vaguely hear someone praising me for looking so cool waving a tennis racket. Of course, there are also some boys who say that they are floating and scumbags. After walking to the playground and going to the toilet, Raku Sakakibara picked up a handful of water in front of the sink and splashed it on his sweaty face. In fact, 80% of the tennis confrontation just now was about venting the recent pressure on himself. How can there be no pressure when joking? Sakakibara smiled with messy hair and looked at the water column flowing under the faucet. I sleep less than 5 hours a day. I not only have to maintain peak study and physical fitness, but also study family affairs, research theoretical knowledge and some solutions to company affairs with high intensity. Under the premise that these things are available, I still see Kiju all the time. The struggle continues. Even a few days ago, I finally got a chance to take a vacation to enjoy the cherry blossoms. What I saw was Kiju beating each other desperately with wooden swords. Sakakibara once again took a handful of water and slapped it on his face. While letting the coolness wash over his face, he also smiled at himself in the splash. But there is progress, isn't it? Sakakibara didn't want to tire himself out too much. But this is the arrangement during this period, so he will also understand what he should and should not do now. Study during the day and go to a Sukkot office in the afternoon to continue studying. After these days of hard work, even Amami maid Nori had to take note of his progress. Glancing over the analysis table he had sorted out in his hand, Amami Madayan kept pondering, tapping the file with his fingers, making a clicking sound. He scanned it several times in a row. At least in theory, he couldn't see anything wrong with his hands. Amami Madayan closed the thing in his hand and looked up at the young man standing in front of him. Ale, you are 18 years old, right? Well, it will be full in March. For you, what kind of mentality should you have as a manager? What would you do if your ideas are not consistent with those within the company? From the perspective of employees, managers should indeed listen to their opinions and work together to work out a plan for moving forward. But as a management, the most important thing is to let them support their opinions. What the flock needs is a leader, and I am not someone who gathers everyone's opinions. What I want to do is absorb and analyze the feedback information, rather than blindly follow the data they have completely compiled. Tianhai Madayan didn't say anything more and nodded. This has always been the case in the Tianhai family. What I should consider are more factors, such as company rules, strategic planning, market demand, etc., and rely on the opinions put forward by employees instead of complying with them. Of course, this aspect is not something I like to get involved in. Now, Tianhai Madayan suddenly stopped tapping the file with his fingers. You can go to Chi Minjio's foundation in the next 2 days. Sakakibara knew what this meant. The purpose of letting you learn knowledge is to help you solve problems in a better way in the future. But theory is theory after all. I hope you can be as good as you are here. Amami Madayan stood up, walked to his side, and suddenly smiled slightly. Do you know that you still remember what you said to me a few days ago? Those 8 investment tips. Obviously I just want you to analyze the current stock market. Forget it. There is nothing to say about this. I will just talk about the results. The 8 companies you predicted are all rising in the direction you predicted. I'm not that miraculous, but the information my uncle gave me is complete enough. Still humble, Tianhai Madayan laughed again. Aren't you the one who compiled and analyzed the data on the financial statements? Show these things to the old man, and he will probably be happy to see your actions and talents. Uncle, don't you hate family affairs? Why do you seem so happy now? Hearing this, Amami Shigenori stood by the window without saying a word. Sakakibara turned around and looked at his back. Do you understand why I still cultivate you like this after you said those words? It's probably clear, but not detailed. Tianheimedian looked at the blue sky and the skyscrapers with countless glass curtain walls reflecting the sunlight in the distance. I don't want to talk to you in a roundabout way. Ali, I have had a heart-to-heart talk with Chi Minjiao and Ju Liyulai during this period. I understand your difficulties and understand their thoughts. I am not here. I agree with your bastard idea, but I think that as a family member, you are far better than me. No matter what the outcome of their final struggle is, you are at least the one who can give them happiness. And this is what I have always owed them. Sakaki Hararaku was silent for a long time. Uncle, does he agree with me to marry Chi Minjiao and Ju Liyulai at the same time? You think beautifully. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 296. Tired. Although I feel very good. But it is still a state of physical and mental exhaustion. Through the conversation with his uncle in the office just now, Sakaki Hararaku probably understood a little bit about his somewhat unclear attitude. This is something to be happy about, but the two phone calls just now made Sakakibara less optimistic. The first call was from Tianhai Julie Yulai. Her purpose is simple, to ask herself out. Sakakibara Raku had no reason to refuse, but Amamai Nanamajetsu called him again 5 minutes later, also asking him to go out. The two of them were deliberately antagonizing each other. One of the meeting places was located in the east of the city, and the other in the west of the city, two completely opposite directions. Being mentally and physically exhausted, Sakakibara Raku had no time to get involved in the intrigue between them, so he just rejected them all. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when he returned home, Sakakibara threw away his schoolbag and lay down directly on the sofa. He quickly tapped the phone screen with his fingers and replied to Chi Minjiao and Ju Liyulai at the same time online, giving the reply that he really couldn't go. After thoroughly dealing with the two of them, Sakakibara sighed and put the phone away. Just as he was about to stand up to get a glass of water, he saw Tianhai's Higsu coming out of the room. She seemed to want to talk to herself. What's wrong? Sakakibara turned around and asked. Ellie came back so early today. Tianhai's Higsu held her hands on the wall, her voice empty and light. With only half of his head exposed against the wall, he seemed to be peeping. Yesterday I played the song 60 times before Ellie would go home. Today I only played it 22 times. 60 times. You play guitar all the time at home? Same as the day before yesterday. It was 65 times the day before yesterday. The day before yesterday. 68 times. Which song? The band's first song. That song can be over 5 minutes long. So's Higsu has been playing this song repeatedly at home. Sakakibara glanced at the time on his watch. 5:12. It was 3 hours earlier than usual. After Kiju left, Aling had to go to work, and she had to study every day. Everyone seemed to have left her alone at home. She didn't have many friends, and she didn't know what to do at ordinary times. She just huddled in her room and played the guitar by herself. Through the previous events, Sakakibara Raku understood the fact that Yuki did like him. You keep repeating a song and counting, are you waiting for me to come home? Tianhai's Higsu shook her head, I didn't repeat a song all the time. So are you still practicing? Yeah. Once you practice well, you can take videos for me when you get back. Higsu has always been interested in her videos, but in fact, neither Chi Minjiao Ju Liyulai nor Aling paid much attention to her videos. Or maybe they were too busy and didn't have anything Kongguan's Higsu liked. Thinking about it this way, Kojiki has always been like this. Because the mother is an advanced maternal age, she cannot learn much on her own and wants to practice it. She also needs to ask others for help because she often forgets things. I'm often in a daze, often don't know how to express my feelings carefully, and often sit alone in my room playing the guitar. She has lived like this for 16 years. Sakakibara couldn't help but wonder, did she feel that her life was different during the time she came here? Did you get a good feel for the splendor of life while you were in school, forming a band, and traveling on motorcycles? The old man sent her here with the intention of asking him to take care of her, but now everyone has left her at home. Zhigzhu, who was unable to be independent, could only play the music over and over again, waiting for people to go home. Sakakibara couldn't bear to look at her. No wonder I suddenly ran out to buy something before and wanted to make myself fried ice cream. Zyuki, come here. Sakakibara motioned for her to sit down next to him. Do you want to apply ointment? We'll talk about this later. I have something I want to ask you. After listening to his words, Amami no Yuki left the wall she was supporting with her hands, walked barefoot to sit next to Sakakibara Raku. When she came over, Sakakibara Raku realized that she was still holding the life manual he gave her in her hand. Why do you keep holding this? I always forget to carry it with me. This is what I said to her. I mainly want to ask you, are you bored staying at home? Fine. Fine. There will be something to eat when Ellie comes back. Sakakibara tried to find something in her eyes, but unfortunately, it seemed to be just an ordinary fact to her. I see why you avoided me in school today. Because I did something wrong, Ling said. Ellie would have scars on his face. Sakakibara Raku suddenly felt an uncomfortable emotion from Amami no Yuki. It was a blocked, indescribable emotion. This emotion made Zhigzhu, who couldn't express emotions, seem to have a weaker voice in front of her, like a child who knew he had done something wrong. Now I really want to hug her and comfort her not to take the ice cream thing to heart. He could do this to Aling, Chi Minjiao, and Juliuli, but he could only do it to Ji Shui. Speaking of hugging, Sakakibara Raku suddenly wanted to understand why Yuki likes to get into his bed. She is not like Aling, nor is she like Chiju. She has been alone since she was a child, and because her mother died young and the age gap between her father, brother, and sister is too large, there has never been a place where she can act like a normal girl. Aling could still crawl into her arms to seek comfort when she was sad. Snow in the sky and sea. Just like her name, it is as pure as the white snow covering the entire sky and sea. She is so pure and white, maybe she is so lonely that she doesn't even know how to express her sad emotions to outsiders, right? Is Yuki hungry? Tianhai's Higsu nodded immediately. We don't have much food at home. How about I take you out for a meal? Okay. Tianhai's Higsu nodded again. Do you want to change clothes when you go out? Yes, go ahead and change. I'll wait for you. When Tianhai's Higsu heard that he was going to take her out to eat, she returned to the room with her bare feet pattering. She didn't even close her bedroom door and started changing clothes. A few minutes later, Amami Yuki, who came from Sakakibara Raku's gang, took her by the collar and led her to the entrance. He took out her shoes from the shoe cabinet and took her out immediately. Walking out of the apartment and onto the city streets of the port area, it was now 5 o'clock in the evening. The thin sunlight slanted down, filling the commercial street full of pedestrians directly opposite. What to eat? Fried ice cream. Why is this again? You can't always eat this stuff, and it's not sold outside. Happy decision. I've decided. There aren't any delicious snacks. I guess Suzu has taken you to eat them. Raku Sakakibara suddenly thought, have you ever been to McDonald's? Tianhai's Higsu blinked. At first glance, I've never been there. Since you haven't eaten before, I'll take you to eat this today. There was a large commercial center directly opposite the McDonald's apartment. Sakakihara took her directly to the third floor, opened the glass door and walked in. With beige paint, visually speaking, McDonald's decoration has a warm feeling. Coffee machines, drink machines, store clerks wearing masks, mothers waiting in line with their children, and the smell of burgers and fried chicken that lingers in the store all the time. It was the first time for Tianhai's Higsu to come to this kind of place, so she was a little curious about the surrounding environment. 2 Big Macs, 2 large Cokes, 8 pieces of spicy chicken wings, a fried chicken bucket, and a strawberry ice cream tornado. Ah, last but not least, let's have the popular hamburger bucket set. The clerk wearing a McDonald's exclusive apron quickly clicked on the machine and repeated what Raku Sakakihara just said. There is also a popular hamburger bucket set, right? Do you need takeout? Yes, that's all. No takeout, dine in. Okay customer, this is your order code, please sit in the store for a while. Trouble. Sakakibara took the meal code and took Amamayuki to the window seat of the restaurant to sit down. The environment here is transparent and the view is good. If you look slightly outside, you can see the city street below the third floor. Because there are many bright promotional pictures of food in the store, Tianhai's Higsu has always focused on those promotional pictures. Has your sister ever taken you to a place like this? Tianhai's Higsu kept staring at the spicy chicken leg burger and shook her head. Where's uncle? Tianhai's Higsu still shook her head. My brother just brings me gifts when he goes home. As for the old man, there is definitely no need to ask. The old man is even more busy. The whole family is workaholics. We can't blame him. After all, he controls a large group with an annual revenue of $700 billion. Who knows how many people are working under their company? Does Ellie come here often? Me? No, I used to come here often with Aling, and she always clamored to eat this. Later, the family was no longer short of money, and my mother gave us brothers and sisters a lot of pocket money, but we came here to spend money in revenge. After a period of time. McDonald's is meant to be fast food, and a lot of the things Sakakihara Raku ordered were brought to him in no time. 2 Big Macs, 2 large Cokes, 8 pieces of spicy chicken wings, and a bucket of fried chicken. It can be said that these things completely filled the table, and it was enough for 4 people. Happy. What's wrong? Can I eat it? It's ready to eat. Tianhai's Higsu picked up the Big Mac burger, opened her small mouth and took a bite. Seeing the gap she made in the burger with her own eyes, Sakakihara Raku seemed to be able to feel the taste of the bread and vegetables and pickles and cheese and steak in her mouth. There was a pile of golden fried chicken in front of me, and the aroma was still wafting upwards. Seeing this scene, Sakakihara Raku couldn't help but feel nostalgic. In order to prevent her from getting bored while eating, Sakakihara Raku also combined it with the situation when Suzu wanted to eat when she was a child, but she didn't buy it for her, and she got angry. It was an old story about how she had a bad temper, how she wanted to eat hamburgers so much that she lay by the window looking at people, and a kind-hearted uncle bought one for her, how happy she was. Speaking later, even Raku Sakakihara complained that he always used Suzu to tell stories to others. Fortunately, Tianhai's Higsu listened happily and ate happily. After every meal, there were countless things to eat in front of her. However, while eating, Raku Sakakibara suddenly noticed that Amamizuki was staring at something, and even stopped eating. Looking at what? Sakakihara looked back and followed her gaze. It was a billboard. It broadcasts McDonald's spring advertisement, as well as McDonald's new spring meal packages. There was nothing in the advertisement, but when Sakakibara continued to read it, he knew what attracted Higsu. There is a scene in the advertisement of a family eating McDonald's happily. In the restaurant, the mother smiled and took the pickled cucumbers from the child's hamburger that she didn't want to eat, In the mountains, the family was tired from climbing, so they sat together and took out the hamburgers they had prepared in advance. Under the cherry blossom tree, the family gathered together. Tuan took out the hamburger from the lunchbox and handed it to the child. The theme of the advertisement is happiness is always around you. And the whole process focuses on family interactions, laughter, slapstick, and parents smiling at each other after seeing their children tired from playing. Seeing these situations, Sakakibara instantly recalled Yuki's life experience. He turned back to observe Tianhai's Higsyu's current expression. She was still staring at the screen intently, her expression not so much in a daze as in a state of sluggishness after longing. Kiju, Ling, Zhigzhu. Everyone is actually just hoping to have a home. Snow, snow. Huh, Tianhai's Higsyu turned around. Are you happy eating? Happy, she whispered, took another bite of the burger in her hand, and chewed it carefully in her little mouth. Then what would you do if I said that I can't always take you to eat like this? This question made Tianhai's Higsyu even more confused, and she stopped moving again. He stared at the Big Mac in his hand, holding the burger in mid-air. Sakakibara looked at her downward gaze and understood that she was thinking. He also understood that she didn't know how to express the emotions in her heart at this time. She couldn't say it, let alone say it out loud. After Tianhai's Higsyu thought for a long time, the advertisement had been rotated 5 times, but she just shook her head gently. Perhaps her mood at this time is the same as how she usually views the world. It's at a loss, it's at a loss. Obviously there are things that I want to keep, and there are things that I don't want to throw away, but I don't know what can be used to keep them. After thinking over and over again, after looking inside again and again, I can only give one reply, shakes head. Seeing this, Sakakibara thought Soichiro Emkai was cruel. He left his daughter, who had never seen her mother since she was a child, to her grandchildren. He was unable to give her any affection since she was a child, and his care for her was only superficial. But maybe Soichiro Emkai also understands his cruelty and his fault. That's why during this period of time, his personality became much gentler than before, and all of Zhigsyu's requests were complied with. No wonder my uncle said that the old man doted on Zhigsyu. He probably knew how cruel he was, right? Well. Sakakibara sighed in his heart at first, but now he already knew what he should do. Don't worry, Zhigsyu, I was just joking. It was just a hypothesis, not a confirmed fact. Hypothesis. Tianhai's Higsyu raised her head, her eyes reflecting the image of him sitting directly opposite. Well, that's just a hypothesis. In the days to come, you and we still have a long way to go. I will also do my best to take care of you. If you want to eat, I will take you out to eat. If you want to play rock and roll, I will take you out to eat. As long as I am free, I will definitely agree to it, and everyone can come together. If you need help, you can call me for help. I do the same to Chi Minjiao, Juliuli, Aling, and everyone in the family. Zhigsyu, don't think that everyone hates you, it's just that everyone is busy. This is an undisputed fact. During this period of time together, everyone is very happy to be with you. Aling likes you very much. I have also learned to take care of others, and getting your response is actually a kind of happiness to see my family happy. Zhigsyu, although I can't completely replace your parents, I hope that I can make you feel warm in this home and not feel so sad anymore. Happy. You were moved? Oh, actually, don't think so. I don't even know how many people I have said this to. I don't quite understand. Anyway, you just need to know that I don't hate your approach. The burger is delicious. Tianhai's Higsyu didn't respond, just said to the burger in his hand. Sakakibara laughed, where's the fried chicken? It's delicious too. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 297. Chapter 294 Sakeki Hararaku's Second Imperial Enjoyment. This is how it should be. The McDonald's meal that Raku Sakakibara ordered for Amami no Yuki was enough for 5 people to eat. It was this kind of large portion that could not be finished that made Raku Sakakibara see the happiness and satisfaction shown by Amami Nazuki surrounded by food. Watching her take small bites of food into her stomach seemed to be a pleasant enjoyment. Before she knew it, there were many chicken bones that had been eaten and wiped clean. She even ate 5 pieces of something the size of a spicy pistol leg. She still ate 2 hamburgers, not to mention other plastics, cola, and the like. They were all scattered in front of her. There were still a lot of golden crumbs on the fried chicken in the corner of her mouth. If she hadn't been so beautiful and had a unique temperament, no one would have expected that she was the eldest daughter of a wealthy family, right? I am full. I'm finally full. Sakakibara put down her phone and had to sigh about her appetite. You've eaten too much. It's my first time eating this. Amami no Yuki didn't have much expression, just stared at Sakakibara Raku, who was directly opposite. The girl with the crumbs on the corner of her mouth looked very innocent. And in Sakakibara's heart, the meaning of her words was self-evident. It's your first time here, so you can't help but eat a little more, right? Ellie has become smarter. I've always been smarter than you, so Yuki wants to go home now. I don't think so. Amami Nazuki's expression was still quiet, and her eyes were still on Sakakibara Raku. Don't think so. I want to go out and play. Tianhai's Higsu looked at the family advertisement in McDonald's again. Sakakihara asked tentatively, Shall I take you there? Tianhai's Higsu nodded. That's okay. Because he originally took her out to eat temporarily, Sakakibara did not prepare the itinerary in advance. So I searched on my mobile phone to see if there was any place nearby suitable for taking her to go shopping. Raku Sakakibara saw an aquarium very close to here on his mobile phone. How about taking a walk around the aquarium? It's still early anyway. All good. Although Amami Nazuki has always complied with her suggestions, Sakakibara Raku can see that she has always been novel about places like this that she has never been to. After leaving McDonald's, they hailed a taxi on the side of the road and together they went to Tokyo's Kasai Rinkai Park. The park has a Ferris wheel, an aquarium, and a seaside bird watching area. 2 tickets are only 500 yen. Quite a deal. The entrance to the aquarium is located high up in the park. There is a footbridge with flower pots lined up in the middle. When walking on it, you can see the glass dome building designed with glass curtains right in front of you. Enter the glass building and take the elevator down. From here on, the indoor lights begin to dim, and the tunnel's ambient lights begin to appear faintly blue. The moment you enter the aquarium through the underground corridor, a colorful underwater world of swimming fish suddenly appears before your eyes. Corals, starfish, seaweed, and schools of fish on the bottom of the sea are swimming. Huge manta rays swing overhead, casting a shadow. Under this glass channel, the underwater world above your head is colorful. So many fish. Tianhai's Higsu was stunned as she looked at everything in front of her. Sakakibara saw the light swaying on her cheeks through the water waves. I don't know if she felt insecure, but her hands took the initiative to hold the hem of her clothes, and her body was trying to get closer to her. Is this your first time at the aquarium too? Yeah, first time here. I remember that Tianhai's family has a yacht, right? That Dongzi is his. He should have been on the sea before, so he hasn't been on it for more than 10 years, right? Don't like going out? If you don't like going out, are you willing to let me take you out? Tianhai's Higsu stared at the big white belly of the manta ray and said, yeah. Then keep going. This aquarium is quite big in Tokyo. Come on, I'll take you around. The aquarium has nothing but tourists taking photos with their cameras. There are many primary school students led by teachers around. The little yellow hats are in groups, with small water bottles and student ID cards printed with their school IDs hanging around their necks. The teacher is the tour guide, responsible for gathering everyone and answering the questions of dozens of children. And Sakakibara Raku is responsible for answering the question of Amami no Snow. The children were lying next to the water tank watching the fish, and Tianhai's Higsu was also lying next to the water tank watching the fish. What is that? Tianhai's Higsu looked at a spotted fish that had been motionless. Saddle band grouper. That one. Golden pomfret. That. Moonlight fish. And that. Stingray. Ellie, so awesome. Sakaki Haro looked away from the introduction card and accepted her compliment with a smile, just average. Shark. Finally, Tianhai's Higsu met the first fish she knew. Raku Sakaki Haro followed her and looked over, their heads following the shark's movements in sync. It turns out to be a mako shark. July must like this thing. Why swim so fast? Because sharks breathe by swimming, they can't survive without swimming. If you can't swim, you can't live. Can you change this sentence to if you can't have fun, you can't live? Sakakibara laughed lightly. If this can be considered a confession, it would be a bit too hasty. When Tianhai's Higsu heard his answer, she didn't know what she should say. It just feels like having y'all talking next to me, like having a lot of fried ice cream to eat. And Big Mac burgers. Sakaki Hararaku was surprised when he heard this. What surprised him was not that Yu's Higsu said those words to him, but that she actually started to try to express her feelings. This can be considered a good thing. Sakaki Hara smiled, let's go, let's continue taking you to see the next thing. What are you looking at this time? Tianhai's Higsu quickly followed him. Look at the penguins. Can we sleep together tonight after watching this? Why did you suddenly talk about this thing? Because Le said that we need to get permission. No. What about rubbing your breasts? No rubbing. Want to sleep with Le? Don't say it so bluntly. At night, Sakakibara Raku was already very lack of energy and took Yuki to visit the aquarium. After taking a bath, he prepared to go to bed first. However, he had just put on his pajamas and returned to bed. As soon as he lifted the quilt, he saw Tianhai's Higsu hiding inside. He looked at her, and she looked at him. Silence. Miss, you have to understand, this is my bed. But I told Le Mingming that we wanted to sleep together this afternoon. Your feelings are not requests, they are commands. Sleep together. No matter how many times you emphasize, I will not take the initiative to sleep with you. This is a matter of principle. We've obviously slept together many times. Isn't that why you came to get under my bed while I was sleeping? Xiaoqi and Xiaoju are not at home. Amamizuki hugged Sakakibara Raku's pillow tightly and clamped it with her slender legs that were red in color, like a squeamish girl who pitied the weak. No need for you to remind me of this. Sakaki Hara drove Xiaoki out of the room and told her not to come over at night, and then lay down to sleep. During this period, he also peeked at the door several times to make sure that Higsu had not come over before getting ready to sleep. The night is quiet. Sakaki Hara put his head in his hands and stared at the ceiling. I kept thinking about what happened today in my mind. Higsu's thoughts about herself. Higsu took the initiative because of herself. Higsu began to care about how long it would take for her to come back, and would instead count how many times she played the guitar. There was also the ways Higsu stared at the family advertisement when she was eating McDonald's. What is certain is that Tianhai's Higsu has a poor life experience. She has never seen her mother since she was a child, and has never felt true father's love. She grew up alone in that huge home. There were not many things accompanying her, just Uncle Ying, a few servants at home, and an electric guitar in her hand. Leaning his head back, Sakakibara looked at the 1,000 origami cranes placed on his bookshelf that Amami Yuki folded and gave to him, and he became increasingly unable to sleep. There is no doubt that Shigyu must like herself. How deep this love is and whether it is love or not is still open to question. But dependence is definitely something, and love is definitely something. Even though she was not good at expressing her emotions, she still said to herself, "I can't live without happiness. This is too heavy. Are you as happy talking to me as you are having a lot of fried ice cream?" Sakakibara tossed and turned, his head lying back on the pillow, murmuring what Amami Nazuki had said. "If there is anything about snow that touches me the most." That's how Shigyu obviously feels uncomfortable, but can't express it well to herself. Chi Minjiu can still express her own thoughts through venting her emotions. But what about the snow in Tianhai? She could only hide the feeling of not being able to get what she asked for, being unable to get close to him even though she wanted to, and being ignored and abandoned by everyone. It is a fact that he wants to take care of Shigyu. His shabby character means that Shue cannot get ordinary care and growth after having such a tragic life experience in his native family. Thinking about this, Sakakihara couldn't help but ask himself. Myself, what kind of emotion should I show towards Shigyu? Love? Definitely not. Sakakihara Raku feels that he wants to take good care of her more. How can I put it this way? It's exactly the same as taking care of a Ling. Isn't a Ling an upgraded version of Ji Shui? He usually approaches me casually, and pulls his neck to act coquettishly, saying to himself, "Brother, I'm hungry, I want to eat beef curry." Thinking of this, Sakakihara suddenly felt a lot more enlightened. Yes, being unable to accept Shigyu's feelings doesn't mean that he doesn't accept her dependence. In fact, as long as she completely understands that the relationship between him and her is not love. She could just like a Ling, treat herself as an elder whom she could get close to casually. It's like an older sister acting coquettishly towards her elder brother, or a daughter acting coquettishly towards her father. And I can also respond to Shigyu to a certain extent without feeling sorry for Kiju at all. Isn't that what a Ling is like? She sticks it on her body casually, and Chi Minjiu Juliuli will not even eat it. This ideal state is indeed good. How about letting Shigyu call her brother in the future? Something is wrong. This will mess up the seniority. Or maybe we should discuss it with uncle and let everyone call each other. Sakakihara suddenly laughed. As soon as I said this to my uncle, might he get slapped by a few more people? Sleep. The next day. It is also the last day after a week since the last cherry blossom viewing at Shinjukuchion National Garden. If there is any change today, it is that there is basically no change. If I have to say a change, it is that the usual contact with Shigyu is no longer so unfamiliar. After his uncle's office completed the final touches and moved all the equity information about the Amami family back to his bedroom, Sakakihara called out Amami Yuki, who was hiding at home playing guitar. Today is the 18th time. There is no need to count every day. Come, and sit, I have something to tell you. Amami no Yuki was led by Sakakibara Raku to sit down on the sofa in the living room. During this period, the girl kept looking at where he was holding her. Sakakihara explained his thoughts to her and established his attitude very seriously. Tianhai's Shigyu didn't quite understand and repeated blankly, "Same as Ling." "Yes, just like a Ling." "Shigyu, you should also understand that the matter between Kiju and I has not been resolved yet. I can't agree to be your boyfriend or anything. It's okay to be a husband. Now is really not the time to complain. As long as you understand, you can treat me the same way a Ling treats me." Sakakihara Raku continued to emphasize, "Did you see that Suzu gets into my bed every day?" No. Tianhai's Shigyu shook her head. "Very good. Just learn from her." It's not that Sakakihara Raku doesn't understand his sister's feelings for him, but what does a Suzu say now? She has a clear self-awareness. She knew that she was Sakakibara Raku's biological sister. Let's Higsu learn from a Ling, which is undoubtedly a role model to imitate. The moods and hobbies of the two also overlap. They will definitely become very good best friends, and their personalities will mesh well with each other. I understand. Tianhai's Higsu nodded blankly. Do you want to change the ointment on your face? Changing the ointment? That's a good relationship, Sakakibara thought. Since he and Zayuki were also undergoing a new relationship transition, they shouldn't be so open-minded. Do you still remember what I told you before about putting gauze and ointment? Isn't it a place? Do not remember. Sakakibara Raku was not annoyed and patiently repeated it. After Tianhai's Higsu understood, she ran to the room with her bare feet and took out the ointment and gauze. She sat down on the sofa. You apply it on me, Sakakibara said to the girl with a calm face. Bang Le Tuesday. Sakakibara did not refuse. Lee's ointment smells bad. You didn't cause the injury? If you help me apply it, don't say these words. In fact, compared to a Ling, Higsu is more like a very obedient sister. She does whatever she says. I would never refute myself as the elder brother. Ahem. Thinking of this, Sakakibara couldn't help but miss the girl who served him tea and foot bath a few days ago. There was Coke and potato chips, and a beautiful girl was beating her legs. Sakakibara later took a look at Minazuki's delicate little face. Although it is a bit cheeky, but alas. What nonsense. Having said all that, it's just a matter of seeing the outside world, okay. Sakakibara Raku figured everything out. He pondered for a while before trying to say. Higsu, I'm a little thirsty. Tianhai's Higsu got off the sofa, stood on tiptoe, and took a bottle of Coke from the refrigerator. Have fun. Ah, by the way, July's potato chips will be wasted if you don't eat them. Just bring them to me at once this time. Tianhai's Higsu did the same thing. Will the packaging be torn? Tianhai's Higsu tore open the package. Ah! Sakakibara opened his mouth. Tianhai's Higsu stayed for a moment and fed a potato chip into his mouth. Somewhat embarrassing. Forget about feeding, it's a bit shameful. Do you want Ellie to eat? I'll feed Ellie, and Ellie will just watch TV. Shame. What is that? Just be thick-skinned and that's it? While eating the potato chips she fed him, Sakakibara said in an unclear voice, Yuki, how about you help me beat my legs? Just like last time. Thump your legs. Yes, beat your legs. Sakakibara leaned back on the sofa, closed his eyes, chewed the potato chips he had just been fed, and listened to the sound of the variety show on TV, which was particularly relaxing and comfortable, just like last time. If possible, it would also be great to pour a basin of water to soak your feet. Who are you asking to beat your legs? And give you foot bath water? Of course. Something is wrong. The sound was so wrong. Why does it sound so rich? Sakakibara turned his head slowly. Only then did he realize that Soichiro Amkai, who was wearing a Haori kimono, was standing near the entrance of the entrance. The old man seemed to have just walked in, and behind him was Sakura, who was looking at him with a wry smile. Bo. Amkai Soichiro happened to see his youngest daughter feeding his prospective grandson-in-law in the living room, and his expression was not very good. Of course. What? Why don't you continue? Sakakibara understands deeply that sometimes, silence is better than answering. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 298. If there was a chance, Sakakibara would like to take the initiative to speak. But facing this situation, facing his quasi-grandfather, Sakakibara Raku really didn't know what he could use to defend himself at this time. The potato chips that Yuki fed in his mouth left a lingering aroma, and the aroma was even stimulating his taste buds. This made him look at Suichiro Amamai, who was standing at the door, and he couldn't help but chew a bite, making the same noise as when the potato chips were bitten. Click sound. Very crisp. This voice reached Soichiro Amkai's ears. His already ugly face turned dark instantly. Sakaki Hararaku. After Sakakibara looked outside the living room, Amamai Yuki, who was sitting barefoot next to Sakakibara with a bag of potato chips, also spotted his father. Tianhai's Higsu looked at her father calmly. Her expressionless expression seemed to be wondering why her father and Uncle Ying appeared here. Amkai Soichiro could no longer watch, because in the scene he just saw, his little daughter was serving a man like a maid. Feeding her, squeezing her shoulders, and asking her to beat her legs and pour water for washing her feet. She was simply living a more carefree and happy life than she did. And such a person is still his grandson-in-law. His youngest daughter's nephew. Amkai Soichiro was not prepared to speak at all. Ying Guizhong, Uncle Ying knows the master's temper very well and doesn't speak. Tianhai's Higsu just looked at her father and Uncle Ying, whom she had been in contact with since childhood. Time passed like this little by little in the endless silence, very smooth and gentle, but for Sakakibara Raku, every second was like entering the 18th level of hell, which made ordinary people, scalp numbness. There is no doubt that this is also a Shuro field. As for Sakaki Hararaku, he thinks that the most indispensable thing in his current life is the Shuro field. Why is Grandpa here? Amkai Soichiro did not reply, keeping his hands naturally lowered. The cuffs of the black Haori kimono just reached his wrist. By the way, didn't Chi Minjio and Juliuli go back to live at Tianhai's house these days? Sakakibara smiled naturally, not at all embarrassed by what happened just now. I've almost settled Uncle's matter. When I have time, I also said that I would take my snow grandson to see them tomorrow, and also pay a visit to Grandpa. Amkai Soichiro still didn't reply. Higsu has been talking about you, Grandpa, lately. When I chatted with her, she often talked about some of the gifts you bought for her, Grandpa. Soichiro Amakai still had the expression of watching silently. The old man's silence is far more terrifying than his words. Sakakihara even worried that he was thinking about how to use asphalt to sink himself into Tokyo Bay. No, really not. You have to say something so that you can save your own life. Speaking of which, Higsu still remembers a question I asked Higsu when she first came here. I asked her what the image of her father was in her mind. Higsu always answered me that her father is a very gentle person. I have never spoken in an angry manner, and I always take good care of everyone. When Sakakibara said this, Soichiro Amkai couldn't help but look at Amamai no Snow. After retracting his gaze, his expression obviously became much calmer. Uncle Ying behind him had already begun to praise the young master's answer in his heart. He knew that the master doted on Miss Shui, and understood that Mrs. Higsu's answer could calm the master's anger. If it were an ordinary person, wouldn't he reply with a few hesitant words, get too close, and then be scolded by the master so much that he couldn't even lift his head? You're so glib, Soichiro Tenkai took a breath. After calming down and stretching his tense shoulders, he opened his eyes and said, so what's going on with you? Sakakibara was happy to see that the old man was starting to take the initiative to talk to him, and he felt relieved. It's just a joke on his Higsu. A joke? Amkai Soichiro snorted. I've never seen my aunt feed her with water and rub her shoulders and back. Why are you here, Dad? Tianhai's Higsu spoke, as if he had just realized who the person in front of him was. Sakakibara Raku was about to vomit blood. Miss Emotional Snow, you had been in a daze just now. I still don't know who is coming. If you had spoken earlier, I wouldn't have gone to the 18th floor of hell to peel off my skin and bones. When Amkai Soichiro saw his youngest daughter speaking to him, his tone completely changed back to his normal tone. I've just finished my work recently and haven't had time to see you. I came here just to see how you are doing. The music is good. How is it okay? Didn't he ask you to bring tea and water just now? Because I did something wrong. Wrong thing. The injury on Lee's face was caused when I was frying fried ice cream. Amkai Soichiro understood the situation and understood the origin of the matter. It turned out that it was his daughter who owed the boy in front of her first. No wonder he dared to call his aunt. Master, don't take it too seriously, Uncle Ying interjected from behind Suichiro Amkai. Mrs. Higsu and the young master are the same age, and because of their contact during this period, the relationship between the two will not be divorced. Too far. Soichiro Tenkai also knew this. When he decided to send Higsu here, he had already imagined that Higsu's identity might create certain obstacles in the relationship between several juniors. It's a good thing that Qi Zhuling and Xiaol don't regard their little daughter as an elder. As the elder brother, there is a considerable generation gap between Midian and Tianhai's Higsu because of their age. The two do not look like brothers and sisters at all. Master. Sakura said a few words to Soichiro Amkai, and then said hello to Raku Sakakibara and Yuki Amamai, and then left the living room first, as if he was going to pick up something. Come here, let's sit down and have a good chat. Soichiro Amkai told Sakakibara Raku, Zyuki will watch TV for a while first. I have something to tell your nephew. It's for fun. Tianhai's Higsu replied to his father and winked. Mr. Tianhai nodded and affirmed, well, he's not a nephew, he's Le. Okay, Xiao Le, come here. Amkai Soichiro turned around and sat on the wooden bench in the living room. Sakakibara then stood up, poured a cup of tea for his grandfather, himself and Zyuki, and then sat across from the old man. How is your relationship with Chi Minjiu going lately? Basically nothing has changed. Sakakihara understood that the old man was trying to find out whether he and Chi had reached that point. After hearing this, Soichiro Amakai withdrew his gaze, and slowly turned his gaze to the tea in front of him. He reached out to open the tea lid and rubbed the edge, and said in a thick voice. Recently, that girl has been making some big moves at home. Not only is she taking the initiative to participate in some things, she is also using her identity and your relationship with her to take the initiative to establish contact with family members. Of course, more often than not, she takes the initiative to find her. There are more people. The old man revealed some information here. First, Chi Minjiu has been expanding her influence within the family during this period and has not been idle. The second is that she actively or indirectly revealed Sakakihara Raku's potential relationship with her to some people. The third is that after the big guys, or people within the group, knew about her status, they all took the initiative to curry favor with her. People who know the senior officials of the Tianhai family, or those who are close to the senior officials of the Tianhai family, are more or less speculating on the old man's opinions, and have some rumors about the identity of the next generation of family heads. July's voice in the family has increased. This is a good thing, but it will definitely have an impact on Julie Yulai. Amkai Soichiro continued, Shijinorai asked you to go to his office because his original intention was for you to actively learn. The important thing is to understand and master relevant knowledge about economics, business, management, etc., and to master the latest technologies and policies of the family business. This is so that you can abide by the family rules and make in-depth and weighty decisions and suggestions that are of substantial help to the family business. From what I have heard so far from Midian, you seem to be very much appreciated by him. My uncle helped me to say good things to my grandfather. Sakakihara Raku understood this. It was also because he had completely predicted the stock market that he was shocked. Amkai Soichiro didn't seem to have much interest in this topic. He just mentioned it, I'm just here today to talk to you about family matters. But this is not the most important purpose of my trip. I'm just here. Just to see how Higsu is doing here. Grandpa, Don't worry, I'm taking good care of her. Do you usually do the cooking? Yes. I know the schedules of Shigenori and Miwa. Do you also do things like washing clothes? Yes. You are also helping them with their homework? Yes. Then I also take care of school affairs and keep exercising every day. We recently formed a band together. Grandpa, you are so busy and you know so much, Sakakihara said happily. These are what Shigenori told me. Amkai Soichiro paused for a second or two. Although he doesn't usually come into contact with you, from this point of view, he has always been paying attention to your lives. Amkai Soichiro was filled with emotion when he said this. Regarding cooking and washing clothes, it was me more than 10 years ago. He will definitely scold the kid in front of him. If you want to take the overall situation into consideration, you shouldn't limit things to such trivial matters. Meal, clothing. Just hire people to do those things. As the leader and heir of the Tianhai family, you must be busy dealing with major matters. The entire group works for tens of thousands of people, has trillions of wealth, and is responsible for the gears that run the entire society. These things are far more important than household chores. This is what he has always thought, and he did this to Maid Nori. However, Madayan used actions to express his resistance to himself. Growing up without feeling the respect of his father since he was a child, he even did not hesitate to confront himself as his first heir. If you want the Tianhai family, you must abandon the trivial matters at home. If you want to take care of your family, you must abandon family affairs. Amkai Soichiro has always thought this way. Xiao Li, do you know what I admire most about you? The old man's voice was serious and majestic. To Sakakibara, it sounded like the tone of an elder. He couldn't help but look at his grandfather's white hair and the wrinkles on his face. Uncle and Grandpa, what are you talking about, talent? No, Amkai Soichiro didn't intend to beat around the bush with him. In fact, in my opinion, what I admire most about you is that you have a heart that is dedicated to the people around you. I learned from Maid Nori, Juliuri, and Kaimingyu he knows your daily life arrangements during this period of time, and arranges your time to the fullest from morning to night. While you are still meeting the requirements of outsiders, you are also taking the initiative to take care of the people at home. This is the rarest thing a person can have. The old man's words of affirmation made Sakakibara stunned. Are you really needed by everyone? You probably already understand what happened between me and Madayan, and also the confrontation between me and Madayan in the early years. He is not satisfied with my control over him. The fundamental reason is that I have given him nothing. Under the circumstances, he was forced to inherit the family, and he felt very dissatisfied. I didn't quite understand it at the time, but after Zhigsu was born. Amkai Soichiro looked at his little daughter who looked extremely immature compared to him on the sofa. He turned back and continued. After Zhigsu was born, my understanding of this matter became clearer and clearer. Zhigsu is an advanced and premature infant. Her current personality is a bit like a child. This is her natural flaw, which also led to her it's easy to forget things. When her mother passed away, even though I was sad about the incident, I only remembered it for a few days and devoted all my energy to the family business. She didn't want to go to school, and I agreed, but she didn't want to understand. Family, because of her life experience, I agreed. I paid no attention to her for 10 years. The one who teaches her is the teacher, and the servant who takes care of her is just completing the tasks I gave her on a routine basis. Sakakibara didn't want to comment, but for Zhigsu, he had been sitting alone in the room for more than 10 years. All he could do was to be in a daze. No wonder Zhigsu likes to be in a daze so much. I experienced some things later. I grew older and my energy was no longer what it used to be. On Zhigsu's 10th birthday, it was also the 10th anniversary of my wife's death. In front of her tombstone, I saw Zhigzhu saying to me when my wife presented her with flowers, I suddenly remembered that I still have a daughter like Zhigzhu. Soichiro Mkai put down his teacup in a leisurely manner. She looks a lot like her mother. And with my current ability, I can't give her normal care and a normal life. She always needs a home and people who can truly treat her as a family, not treat her as the young lady of the Tianhai family and a tool for marriage. This is why I sent her to you. Sakaki Hararaku saw another side of the old man. The head of the Tianhai family, who appears to be the most powerful to the outside world, is not as serious and unapproachable as he appears to the outside world. The old man is still an old man, a man who also has family and family ties. Maybe he has strong external skills and behaves beyond doubt, but in fact, he has always felt guilty towards Zhigzhu. The father's love is hidden deeply, but it is difficult to express his emotions to his young daughter, who is equivalent to a granddaughter, due to face. This must be the dilemma of the old man's feelings for Tianhai's Zhigzhu. Why did Grandpa say this to me? Why do you say this? It's just the emotion of a man who is nearly 70 years old. I have never said this to Maid Nori or Guizhong. As for why I say it to you, I think you can probably understand my mood and situation, and as the heir, I think you should also have some conversations with me about things other than the family. You have to be clear, you have to understand that the Tianhai family has been able to get to where it is now, and it will always follow the word family. Amkai Soichiro's voice is old-fashioned, but there is a little bit of self-deprecation in his words. I didn't fully understand what my father said to me until a few years ago. It was really stupid. By the way, I'll tell you something that even Midori doesn't know. When I was young, I did the same thing as him. The conversation with the old man is over. Soichiro Amakai asked some more questions to Amakazuki and learned about her current situation. His youngest daughter talks more than before, which is a fact that he can see with his naked eyes. He has a new stage of understanding about his decision to put Zhigzhu here. At least I didn't do anything wrong. Amkai Soichiro then visited the rooms where several people lived, and also learned that Sakakibara gave up his room and lived in the utility room by himself. Why don't you change to a bigger house? Moving is too troublesome. It's not necessary for me. During the last visit to Raku Sakakibara's room, when Soichiro Amkai looked at his bookshelf, he paused calmly for a second. Do you have anything to eat here? Grandpa, do you want to stay here for dinner? Well, as soon as possible. I heard that your craftsmanship is very good. Hearing that the old man wanted to stay for dinner, Sakakibara Rakia immediately responded that he could make a meal. After Soichiro Amkai intentionally dismissed Sakakibara Raku, he took the initiative to walk into his room and picked up a diary on his bookshelf. Really? When Amkai Soichiro saw this diary given to Yuki by his wife, he felt nostalgic and at the same time wondered why this thing appeared in Sakakibara Raku's room. He let go of the book. At this time, a few paper cranes that were folded completely out of place happened to fall out of the book. 1,000 paper cranes. Amkai Soichiro bent down to pick it up. He looked at the paper crane and then at the contents of the diary, his brows furrowed. He thought in silence for a moment, and took the initiative to think of the way Minazuki looked at Sakakibara Raku when he first saw her. Soichiro Amkai closed the diary silently. He felt that there were some things that perhaps should be verified. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 299. Do. Tianhai's Zhigzhu watched the green onions and ginger being neatly sliced on the chopping board. Ellie, do you need help? Help? Zhigzhu, go watch TV. It will be over soon. Uncle Ying is here to help me. Mrs. Higgs, just go and rest. Ying Gui's Hong, who was also wearing an apron, also said to Amami no snow. In fact, asking Higgs to help prepare dinner would only be a disservice to her. Uncle Ying mixed the cooking wine, light soy sauce, refined salt, and white pepper thoroughly and evenly. While completing this process, he looked at Tianhai's Higgs who was sitting on the sofa. When Mrs. Higgs is at home, she never offers to help. Sakakibara cut the meat into pieces and was always curious about Yuki's past status at Amami's house. Has Uncle Sakura been responsible for taking care of Yuki before? Mrs. Higgs has a dedicated maid to take care of her, Uncle Ying sighed, helplessness flashing in his eyes, but everyone's care for Mrs. Higgs has always been limited to the surface of work. Sakakibara asked, there must be a reason for this. Uncle Ying nodded and continued to mix the seasonings in the glass bowl with his hands. The main reason is that Mrs. Higgs has never liked seeing outsiders since she was a child. It can't be said to be resistance. It's just that it's difficult for Mrs. Higgs to respond to the outside world. Even if she will soon forget what she has been taught, which is a natural flaw. Most servants will also be bored because Mrs. Higgs needs to repeat the teaching more than 10 times. Although they will not have much in terms of salary. It was an extraordinary move, but considering the possible hidden dangers, the person responsible for taking care of Mrs. Higgs was basically rotated every month. The situation only got slightly better last year. Sakakibara frowned, in other words, Yuki has been in a state of treatment all these years? Did it only improve last year? Yes, in previous years, Mrs. Higgs would have a checkup every week, and she had been receiving neurological intervention and cognitive therapy since she was a child. Her usual habit of being in a daze was also caused by Mrs. Higgs' illness when she was a child, and her personality was somewhat different. It was affected. Uncle Ying spoke slowly and smiled slightly. Mrs. Higgs has recovered very well this year. This is one of the reasons why I am willing to take the initiative to let Mrs. Higgs out. Sakakibara stopped talking. The more I understand Higgs' life experience, the more I understand that her cognition is full of confused gray. No wonder she often looks like a child who hasn't grown up. Uncle Ying stared at the pickling seasoning in the glass bowl in his hand and continued. The master has always felt guilty towards Higgs. In the eyes of those of us, before Mrs. Higgs was 10 years old, the master gave everything to Mrs. Higgs, but it seemed that he didn't give her anything at all. The child was sitting alone in the room looking at the clouds outside the window in a daze. We all couldn't bear it. Now we can see that Mrs. Higgs is slowly starting to improve and has the ability to take the initiative to talk to people. Not only the master, I'll be happy too. Happy Tianhai's Higgs suddenly came over wearing bare slippers again. Is there fried ice cream tonight? You want to eat? Think. Okay, Raku Sakakihara agreed, I'll help you cook these 2 home-cooked dishes after I finish them. Good. Uncle Sakura looked at Raku Sakakibara's cooking movements and said with a smile, the young master's Chinese cuisine is quite delicious. Sakakihara Raku is quite confident about this, then when dash snapped. An extremely loud sound of opening the door interrupted what Sakakihara Raku was about to say. Less than a second later, a familiar voice came from the entrance. Haha, brother. I'm off work. Did you miss me, this super invincible and cute? The corners of Sakakihara Suzu's mouth raised, and she put her hands on her hips. But before this state lasted for half a second, she suddenly felt something was wrong with the atmosphere at home and took the initiative to interrupt her speech. Then I opened my eyes and looked carefully into the living room and open kitchen. I saw my brother, Higgs, Sakura, and the white-haired Soichiro Amakai sitting on the sofa. Grandpa. Only then did Sakakihara Suzu realize that the old man had actually come to the house. She quickly cleaned up her bad image, straightened her expression with a smile, and asked stiffly, when did Grandpa come? Afternoon. Soichiro Amakai was actually interested in the character of his new granddaughter. Of course, the facial expression remains unchanged. Then why don't you tell us so that my brother and I, as well as Higsu, can get ready? Sakakihara Suzu asked stiffly, feeling nervous at this time. She knew very well that she was completely unable to cope with this powerful grandfather. There's no need to be so outspoken. Amkai Soichiro had no intention of distancing himself from her. As for the question you just asked, Takataka and I just came over to take a look at Yuki's situation. We didn't plan to stay any longer now that we have time. And I heard that your brother's craftsmanship is good, so I plan to stay for dinner. I understand. Sakakihara Suzu nodded quickly. Sakakihara Suzu went back to the bedroom to put her things away, then came back to the living room, where Soichiro Amakai waved her over to chat. We haven't spoken a few words, so we can talk now. What do you want to ask, Grandpa? Is there anything about Yuki at school? Suzu Sakakihara smiled while maintaining a reserved posture. Grandpa, don't worry. No one in the school dares to bully her. Well, I have already discussed this with your brother. What I want to know now is who in your family generally contributes the most. My brother. Sakakihara Suzu answered naturally. Then take care of Higsu. Normally, my brother takes care of the most, Sakakibara Suzu thought carefully. After all, my brother is basically responsible for the housework at home. Chi Minjiu has been tinkering with her foundation, and Juliuli basically stays at school in the afternoon. I usually have to go to work to deal with student union matters. The youngest daughter and Xiao have the most contact in this family. Tiankai Soichiro got this information. But this information was far from proving his conjecture. So Soichiro Amkai and Suzu Sakakihara talked about many things, basically about their daily lives. In these simple and ordinary inquiries, Amkai Soichiro used some words to get the second information from Sakakihara Suzu. Higsu will take the initiative to find Sakakibara Raku, and Sakakibara Raku will take the initiative to help her complete some things. Then no other key information was obtained. These things can't explain anything at all, but they can at least prove that the two of them had quite close contact. After dinner, Mr. Emamai glanced at Raku Sakakibara, who was washing the dishes, and Suzu Sakakibara, who was pretending to be diligent in helping wash the dishes. He stood up and walked to the balcony, using a look to signal Sakura Takatada to follow him. This look. Yang Guizhong understood instantly, then followed the old man to the balcony and pulled the glass door up. The night breeze in Tokyo City is very cool. Master. Well, what's your impression of Xiao? Very good. He is a responsible young man. According to the young master, he is also a very qualified person. Worth cultivating. You just talked to him about Higsu, right? Yes. How? The young master cares about Mrs. Higsu very much, and Mrs. Higsu has more things under his care. From the current stage, your decision to send Mrs. Higsu here is not wrong. Did you find anything? Amkai Soichiro asked in an indifferent tone. Amkai Soichiro suddenly laughed, a very sudden smile. It seems that you must have seen something. Then if I say that Higsu put all the diaries left by her mother on Xiao's bookshelf, Guizhong, what do you think? Master, actually we are not completely sure yet. Uncle Yang sighed in his heart. He was already worried about some things that have not happened yet. The head of the family is happy now, but it is not a good thing at all. And this sudden smile. As someone who has been with the master for decades, he felt very uneasy about this. I'm not sure it's just Xiao. Guizhong, please calls Higsu over. Sakura Guizhong obviously wanted to say something more, but seeing the master's appearance, he couldn't refuse. A minute later, Tianhai's Higsu, who was eating fried ice cream just now, was taken to the balcony by Uncle Yang. Amkai Soichiro was already used to the way his youngest daughter looked at him blankly. I have a question to ask you. Do you like Xiao Le? I like it. Tianhai's Hixu blinked and replied in a very ordinary tone. Uncle Ying was already holding his forehead from behind, feeling something bad. After Soichiro Amkai heard this, he still had a speculative attitude. Have you said this to Xiao Le? The young lady is too innocent, she must have said that. Sakura Guizhong couldn't help but think in her heart. Said. Sure enough. Amkai Soichiro nodded. How did he answer you? Le said there was no way he could promise me. Why don't you agree? Don't you like you? Tianhai's Hixu shook her head. In fact, Amkai Soichiro also fully understood the reason why Sakakibara refused to agree to his youngest daughter. I ask specifically, just to know what Tianhai's Hixu thought about this matter. If I asked him to be your husband, would you like it? Tianhai's Hixu was silent at first, then nodded, and finally shook his head. No. Amkai Soichiro knew the reason why his daughter shook her head in the end. Do you think there are 7 bright moons standing in front of you? Tianhai's Hixu didn't speak again. Soichiro Amkai knew that his granddaughter was infinitely smarter and more capable than his daughter. And Hixu seems to be a little worried about the relationship with Chi Minjiu. Okay, Hixu, you go back first, I'll stop asking here. Don't tell Xiao what I said. Okay. Tianhai's Hixu listened to her father's words. After Tianhai's Hixu was sent back to the living room to watch TV, Ying Guizhong said quickly. Master. Isn't this thing too ridiculous? Everyone outside now knows that the young master is Dash. Amkai Soichiro directly waved his hand to interrupt Sakura Takataka's words, and said bluntly, not many people in the outside world know that I intend to have him as my grandson-in-law, and most of them are just speculations. But that is the young master after all, Ying Guizhong couldn't help but persuade again. Amkai Soichiro shook his head. There is no blood relationship, just let him and Maid Nori break away from the legal relationship. And it is more justifiable to marry into the Amakai family as a son-in-law and inherit the family. Master has really changed too much. To this day, I still think this way because of Mrs. Hixu. And his attitude is still so strong. After all, the master is too doting on Miss Shui. What about the young lady? Master, you also know what the young lady has been doing recently. Master, you can't possibly treat the young lady like you used to treat the young master. And it is definitely not the right thing to put pressure on the young master. The young master's matter is already a matter of course. It's a very complete fact. Amkai Soichiro looked very happy. I know. Master, do you know that Dash? So this matter can't come out openly. The head of the family has decided. I can't persuade him anymore. But Uncle Sakura still wanted to say something for Sakakibara Raku. Master, in fact, the young master's mood should be considered in this matter. Maybe he is not willing. It is necessary to consider Xiao's mood, but it is not necessary. Sir Ying Guizhong felt that there was something in Soichiro Amkai's words. Amkai Soichiro's originally happy face suddenly became restrained. He said with a straight face and very seriously. Do you know what Maid Nori is hiding from me? Master? What's there? Uncle Ying obviously knew nothing about this. Amkai Soichiro closed his eyes and said in an unpleasant tone, 2 days ago, when I went to Takabana's house for work, I met their distant uncle. Uncle Ying knew who it was, Tachibana Kiyohara? Little Miss and their principal. Amkai Soichiro nodded, that's that kid. You know I've been paying attention to Xiao Le and his school affairs recently. I accidentally learned something while chatting with him, that brat Sakakibara Le is the same as Juliuli in school. Boy-girlfriend relationship. The last sentence was spelled out quite clearly, with a hint of sullenness mixed in with it. When Sakura Gaizeta heard what Soichiro Mkai said, he was immediately stunned. Do you understand what this means? In front of me, I was in a relationship with Chi Minjio, but in reality, I was in a relationship with Julie Yulai. At that time, I specifically asked the boy Tachibana Qingyuan if he was him. We got the wrong person. After all, Chi Minjio and Julie Yulai are twins, but it turns out. The expression on Mkai Soichiro's face remained unchanged. He is not mistaken. The relationship between Xiao Li's brat and Julie Yulai is well known in their school. Wrong. Judging from Sakura Takadata's impression of Sakakibara Raku having met several times and his favorable impression after talking to him, he didn't think Sakakibara Raku was someone who dared to deceive the master. Not only is this risky, but the consequences will be particularly serious if the master finds out. Moreover, everyone in the school knows about this. Doesn't Miss Chi Minjio know? What state is Miss Julie Yulai in this matter? Also, why did the young master help the young master hide this matter? As a father, shouldn't he be angrier than the master? Very messy. Yang Guizhong couldn't figure out the relationship for a while. Soichiro Maki noticed his expression as he was lost in thought, maintained a serious expression on his face, and said calmly, when I heard the news, it was similar to what you are thinking in your head now, and I had many questions. Uncle Yang had an idea. Is it possible that everyone knows about this? And they know it well. That's right. Soichiro Maki sighed lightly. My two granddaughters from the Amami family actually pursued the same man at the same time. Not to mention this, the most bizarre thing is that boy Shijinorai, as their father, actually hid it from me after he found out. I suddenly went back to Tianhai's house, and I thought it was because of this boy's conscience that he came to see me, but it turned out that he was debating whether to tell me about it or not. The master knew about this 2 days ago. But what shocked me the most was that the master didn't show any strange emotions in the past 2 days. Master, what are you thinking about? Master, are you not angry? Shouldn't you feel extremely angry and angry? Or are you still saying that the master is no longer the master he once was? Mkai Soichiro turned around and faced the cool breeze of Tokyo night on the balcony. Guizhong, what do you think I will do now after knowing these things? About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 300. Joy should be a husband. Joy should not be a husband. Joy should be a husband. Joy should not be a husband. For Tianhai's Higsu, yesterday was the most impressive day for her. Ellie, took myself out to eat at McDonald's. Happy, I took myself to see the aquarium. Ellie, and said a lot to myself. Although I didn't understand much of what Ellie said that he would treat himself as the same person as Aling. Dad seemed to have asked himself if he would like Ellie to be his husband. Yuki, Snow. Yuki. Sakakibara Suzu woke up Amami Yuki, who was in a daze in front of the table. You've been in a daze like this since the morning. Are you okay? I've never seen you in this state before. Probably, Tianhai's Higsu responded softly. Probably. Sakakibara Suzu could only understand a little of what she said, but she didn't go into too much detail. Oh, forget it. I just wanted to ask you why you are so preoccupied. It's always the same as when my brother is alone. I'm always thinking about weird things. Amami Nazuki looked at Sakakibara Suzu, who was standing next to her desk. Instead of answering her question, she changed another question. Ling, are you happy these days? Are you happy? Why are you asking this? But if we want to discuss whether we are happy or not, I am a little happy and a little unhappy during this period. Amami Nazuki stared at Sakakibara Suzu, who pulled up a stool and sat down on it, unable to understand what she meant. Sakakibara Suzu laid her hands on the backrest of the chair, folded her hands, and rested her head on it. She thought for a moment and said, well, the two guys Chi Minjiu and Julie Yulai are gone, and I'm very happy. But recently, I need to produce animation for the new season, so I never have any extra time. I've been busy lately, which means I haven't done anything successfully during this time. Oh, by the way, Yuki, you've been at home alone lately, right? Are you okay? Fine. What are you doing at home? Play the guitar. That's good. Bell. Huh. Sakakihara Suzu could see that Amami no Yuki suddenly wanted to say something to herself. Then she was so happy, because apart from talking about food, Zhigsu rarely took the initiative to open topics to herself. Yuki, do you have anything to say to me? Just say it. Yesterday, Le took me to eat a Big Mac. Sakakihara Suzu has no idea about this. She pushed herself up. Subconsciously, I almost stood up. My brother actually went shopping with a girl again and again, but he still took the initiative to take her there. What does this mean? Did he take you there alone? Yes, Tianhai's Higsu nodded obediently. Sakakihara Suzu lay back on her seat. Her intuition tells her that isn't Higsu and her brother just in a caring relationship? Brother, even if he is a scumbag, he will definitely not attack someone like Zhigsu who knows nothing, right? And if uncle knew about this again, wouldn't he have to chase him with grandpa's knives? My brother, what did you say to Yuki? Le said that from now on he will treat me as the same person as Ling. Same as me, this surprised Suzu Sakakibara. What do you mean? I'm not sure. But Le said he won't hate my approach. Same as myself. He also said that he didn't hate Yuki's approach. Brother, is this guy going to take care of Zhigsu as his sister? Why do you say that? Isn't my relationship with Yuki very good? Sakakihara Suzu frowned. She suddenly felt something bad, something was wrong with Tianhai's Higsu, a little face as pure as snow. She tentatively lowered her voice and asked quickly, Yuki, don't you like my brother? Haha, how is this possible? My brother is not the kind of person to meet others. Like. Amami Nazuki's answer made Suzu Sakakibara choke back the haha she was thinking. Happy, like. What do you like? Like music. Tianhai's Higsu repeated it very normally. The natural expression formed a wonderful contrast when facing Sakakihara Suzu. This made Sakakihara Suzu's already stiff face appear more clearly. Why do you all like my brother? A proper scumbag, okay. What's so good about a scumbag? On the surface, Sakakihara Suzu is calm. But inside, he was actually starting to roar. No, in fact, she should have started going crazy as early as when she knew that Chi Minjiu and Julie Yulai like Sakakihara Raku at the same time. Why are brothers Chi Minjiu and Julie Yulai both scumbag enough to say that they love them at the same time, but they can still accept it? And why did my uncle just beat my brother when he heard about it? Shouldn't the three of them be beaten up and separated alive? As long as the three of them are separated, I will have nothing, okay. When the time comes, he can be like he was when he moved, and he can only rely on himself. What happened to several people while you were working overtime? Why does it seem like I don't know the whole process of everything? Calm. Calm down, must be calm. Sakakihara Suzu comforted herself crazily in her heart. What are you thinking about? Me? I'm thinking, Zhigsu, why you like my brother. Suzu Sakakihara maintained a sunny expression. Correct. Yuki doesn't seem to know that she likes, hates smelly Lele. Why? Suzu Sakakihara's casual question made Amami no Yuki fall into deep thoughts. Sakakibara Suzu quickly asked, do you think my brother is handsome? Actually, you don't have to think so. There are many people in the world who are more handsome than him. Do you want me to show you a few on my phone right now? I guarantee that there will be someone who can match him. Yuki, you are a male god. Those guys are nothing. As soon as Yuki you reveal your identity, believe it or not, all these people will come to please you, Yuki. She said a lot, but Tianhai's Higsu didn't listen at all. She shook her head and replied. I don't think Le is very handsome. So Yuki, what do you like about him? Sakakihara Suzu blinked and asked quickly, fried ice cream. Tianhai's Higsu nodded decisively, there are also Lee's fried pork, beef curry, rabbit hot pot, chicken wings and Big Mac burgers. All are high-calorie foods. Yuki, how can you keep eating? No, now is not the time to complain about this. Sakakihara Suzu finally understood that because Yuki was born, she is like a child now. It's just like a blank piece of paper. What she likes is basically based on appetite, the most basic human ability. In other words, Zhigzu doesn't have the right feelings to like her brother at all. Compared with two foxes, they are not on the same level at all. Zhigzu likes this, huh? Can that be called liking? With her status, can she still marry her brother? She is my sister-in-law. Although they are not related by blood, it sounds like it is simply impossible to succeed. Will Chi Minjio Juliuli agree? Will Mom agree? Will Uncle agree? And Grandpa, the first one who didn't agree was Grandpa, okay. Therefore, Xiao's Higsu hums, that is not threatening at all. Sakakihara Suzu is full of confidence. At this stage, he still has the greatest advantage. Chi Minjio and Juliuli are abandoned, and they are simply defeated. I have already thought about it myself, and I don't expect my brother to have any other ideas. Just keep him from being interested in other bad women. Everyone kept saying it was for the sake of my brother, but it was all bullshit. Besides making things difficult for their elder brother, what else would they do? Such a good brother was forced to become a scumbag by them, okay. Amami Nazuki tilted her head slightly, and she noticed that Sakakihara Suzu was holding her chin in a V-shaped hand in front of her, and the expression on her face kept changing. First there was depression, then thinking, then surprise, contemplation, happiness, and pride. By now, it looks like win is within reach. Ling, what are you thinking about? Suzu Sakakihara interrupted her thoughts, raised the corners of her mouth and said arrogantly, it's nothing, I just thought of some effective counterattack strategies. It just so happens that I have rearranged my work schedule recently, and I am free in the afternoon anyway. What is the counterattack strategy? Tianhai's Higsu only knew that Ling would have time to go home in the afternoon starting today. Counterattack strategy, huh? Sakakihara Suzu was debating whether to tell Kono Yuki what she thought. Should I say it or not? What I said seemed inappropriate. But, thinking about it carefully, there seems to be no problem. After all, Zhigzu doesn't really like her brother, so she might be able to help her as a good best friend. Ahem, Suzu Sakakihara cleared her throat specifically, Zayuki, come closer and I'll tell you. Although Amami no Yuki didn't know what Sakakibara Suzu was going to say, she still came closer. Sakakihara Suzu blocked her mouth. Yuki, let me tell you, as for my brother, he actually likes it the most. He usually likes to hear people talk to him. After saying that, Suzu Sakakihara returned to her original state. I told Zayuki that I used a trumpet to chat with my brother online, right? I used this method to make him willing to meet me offline. I like these Tianhai's Higsu repeated. Yeah, that's what he likes. Suzu Sakakihara kept nodding. I'm telling you, sometimes I need you to help me. The purpose is that the two of us should stand on a united front. After victory, you can be my brother. My sister. As for me, I will share everything I can eat with you, Yuki. Although this can be my brother's sister's statement is a bit strange. But didn't he gain an ally? What does Higgs you think? Dot. Let me ask you another question, how do you understand what my brother said to you yesterday? Tianhai's Higgs was stunned for a while, can become as important as a bell. That's right, Suzu Sakakihara quickly added, isn't this the same as asking you to be his adopted sister? Anyway, he has so many adopted sisters, one more is good. Accepted. Accepted. Okay. From now on, we will be the Linksya group. The name is not important, what is important is that we are friends on the united front, and we each get what we need. What if I sneak out to meet Chi Minjia or Juliuli in the future? You have to tell me too. Don't say that I blocked it on purpose. This is something that my uncle has expressly prohibited. Tianhai's Higgs roughly understands. Okay, the class bell is ringing, I'm going back to my seat first. Okay. After Sakakihara Suzu confidently told her great plan to her comrades, she returned to her seat and waited for the teacher to come to the classroom. She actually did this for one purpose. Let me gradually lose my love for those two foxes. After they confronted each other, Sakakihara Suzuko saw that her brother had too much helplessness. But he still couldn't let go of the two foxes. She was asked to say, those two foxes made him so tired, why did he pay attention to them? And the most important thing is, the thought of being ignored by two foxes and looking at me with surprise again. Sakakihara Suzu felt so happy in her heart. Let you look down on me. So that you have never looked at me. At the end of the plan, when the time comes, I can just hold my brother's arm and enjoy the envy and jealousy from the two foxes behind me. Hum. Be resentful, be jealous, be fearful behind your back. This is the consequence of you looking down on me. I, Sakakihara Suzu, have already. Do. Sakakihara Suzu's head was suddenly hit. She held her head and raised her head angrily, who is so rude? Who? Your brother. Who else? Sakakihara took back his knife and took out a pile of papers from his arms, pressing it on her desk. I don't know what kind of fun it is, I want to talk about it. It went up to the sky. What is this? Test. Mathematics. What else is this? The invigilator has been in the classroom for more than 10 minutes. Take an exam. What? You didn't know there was an exam today? Before Suzu Sakakihara could reply, Raku Sakakihara went on to hand out test papers to her classmates at the table behind her. Looking back at her brother's back, Sakakihara Suzu quickly focused her eyes on the test paper in front of her. Densely packed with formulas and letters that she would never use at ordinary times. The current test papers have almost become a Bible. I can't do it myself. What should I do? Because it is originally an on-campus test and is graded by machine. By the afternoon of the next day, Suzu Sakakibara would be able to see her ranking on the list. First, Tianhai Juliuli. Second, 7 bright moons in the sky and sea. Second, Sakakihara Raku. Chapter 306, Sakakihara Suzu. Sakakibara Suzu, who was standing with two good friends in the noisy student crowd, was already stunned. This has completely fallen to the level of a crane. Suzu-chan, cheer up. Sakaichi Diano took Sakakihara Suzu's arm and comforted her with a soft voice, although you are no longer the perfect angel Suzu-chan you were before, but now everyone still likes you very much, especially when you are eating tornado potatoes outside. It's over. I've never received such a low score before. Sakakihara Suzu suddenly fell into Chitano Sakai's arms, looking so angry that she almost foamed at the mouth. Suzu-chan, cheer up. Look, Sakaichi Diano was so panicked that her brain was overloaded. Look at me, I only got the 38th place in the exam. Sakakihara Suzu let out another lifeless breath and went up to the sky. No. Sakakihara Suzu stood up again and quickly turned to look at Amami Nazuki. Yuki, what's your name? Xiao's Higsu is his new comrade in arms. That must be. Tianhai's Higsu looked up. Sakakihara Suzu followed her gaze and looked over. The name Snow of Tianhai was written clearly on the 18th place on the list. Suzu Sakakihara immediately felt a weight with 1,000 kilograms written on it hit her head with a pound sound, and her head was so heavy that she could not lift it up no matter what. Sakai Kateno directly covered her mouth. Is Yuki-chan so good? It seems that she lost a lot of points on the Mandarin composition. In fact, it was Raku Sakakihara who was helping her with tutoring. It's over, Sakakihara Suzu kept chanting. What she meant by being finished, of course, meant that the next month would be difficult. Teacher Tsukimi invited her to the office, took the initiative to put out the cigarette in his hand, glanced at her, and said directly to her. Stay at school to make up for classes in the afternoon. Teacher Daojing. Explain. I have a job. Bing, Tsukimi Satomi's forehead jumped. Actually, the fact that you can enter and exit the campus at will is against the rules. As for why the school turns a blind eye to you and Tiano, I think you should know, but this does not mean that you have other privileges. If you have other things to add points, you must also maintain a certain basic score, right? The school has average score requirements and cannot hide the data. And I also know that your schedule can arrange whatever you want. How about changing your work to Saturday and Sunday? Don't worry too much about yourself. That's that? I asked my brother to give me extra lessons at home. Huh? Ale, Eugene Lee Daojing said seriously. Ale is a good boy. Teacher. I will study hard. Even if I don't agree, you will find a way to make me agree, right? Okay, it's not a big problem in the first place. You are brothers and sisters anyway. I will just tell Ale later. Thank you, teacher. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 301. Oh. What are you doing? Sakakihara Suzu dodged the attack from her brother, immediately slapped him back dissatisfied, and muttered in a low voice, think again, hit me in the head. On the side of the street, Sakakihara Raku, who was holding a lot of ingredients in his hand, took back his hand and sighed. You did so poorly on the exam, why do you still have the nerve to hum? Now you have to ask me to give you tutoring again. 90% of my grades are due to you always hitting me on the head. And these are two different things. Okay, Suzu Sakakihara said in a relaxed tone while eating the lollipop in her mouth, I think our life is pretty good now, hum the tune only when you are happy. How is it okay? Look, Sakakibara Suzu took the initiative to pull Amami Yuki over, hugged her arm, leaned on her small shoulders and winked at Sakakibara Raku, now we go to school together and go to school together. We buy groceries together, and we will go home for dinner together later. If we are bored, we can also watch TV and play games together. What a pleasant daily life. Sakakibara only glanced back at her, then continued walking forward, saying. I think it's just that Chi Minjiu and Juliuli are gone, so you are very happy. My emotional intelligence has improved. Sakakihara Suzu would not admit it. She originally wanted to reply, but when she saw her brother looking a little tired when he mentioned the two sisters, she couldn't help but ask with concern. Brother, are you okay? Why do you feel a little listless when I talk about the two foxes? It's not that I'm listless, Raku Sakakibara said, looking at the green trees on the side of the city street. It should be said that it's because there is no way to try to make beneficial changes to the status quo, and I feel some powerlessness in my heart. Sakakihara Suzu repeated her brother's words 3 times in her mind before she understood what he meant. Didn't you say that the best way to treat the two foxes is to ignore them? Well, yes, Sakakibara did not deny, but it's like an RPG game. There are legends above the epic quality, legends above the legends, and immortality above the legends. I've also been thinking recently, besides leaving them alone, is there an excellent way to change their relationship? The regret is that I couldn't figure it out. My brother turned out to be depressed because of this incident. Wrong. Why are you still thinking about them? A fox has made a nest on your body, and the body odor can't be washed away. So Sakakihara Suzu hurriedly said. Brother, you see you are so busy, so there is no need to think about those two foxes. And haven't you and your uncle been studying things about the Tianhai family? When you graduate from college and take over the Tianhai family, from now on, there are a lot of beauties for you to choose from. There is no need to hang yourself from two trees. Then Ailing, have you ever thought that the condition for me to take over the Tianhai family is to marry one of them? Then don't do it. Anyway, you can make money just by playing stocks. What's the point of living if you're so tired every day? This is true. Sakakibara thought to himself. Now I have more than 400 million yen in my hand, which is enough to cover expenses for a lifetime. With the experience I learned from my uncle and the knowledge given by the system, it is easy to make some money. But it's a pity, Aling. Your brother and I have never paid attention to the money or status of Kiju and the others. It's just that they like themselves and they don't want to leave them. Currently, the 7 and 9 are in a deadlock. The two of them will never be convinced by anyone. It is equivalent to a knot that can never be opened and will only get harder and harder. Or, you can try to find a third person to break the deadlock. Sakakihara Raku was lost in thought, but was interrupted by Suzu. Oh, don't forget about those two foxes of yours. Come on, let's walk faster. After dinner, you can give tutoring lessons to me and Zhigzu. You promised teacher Daojeng. Obviously I'm just giving you tutoring. It's all little things, little things. After returning home, Sakakibara immediately started preparing for dinner. Brother, let me help you. Brother, what's your expression? Are you Ling? Oh, don't believe it. Although I don't know as much as Julie Yuli, I can still help you wash the vegetables. Okay, the assistant is free of charge. Sakakibara finished cooking dinner and took the two of them to have dinner together. After washing the dishes, it was time for tutoring. The three of them sat together in front of the big coffee table in the living room. Sakakibara Raku explained examples seriously to Sakakibara Suzu, who leaned over her head, and Amamai Yuki, who was sitting as if in a daze, wondering if anyone was listening. The outline of his face was illuminated very clearly by the light. Sakakihara Suzu always thought that the old man was quite handsome when he was serious. She quietly moved her position towards Sakakibara Raku. Another example is finished. She shifted again. During this period, she yawned several times in succession, and at the right moment, she leaned directly on Sakakihara Raku's shoulder. Are you feeling sleepy now? Sakakibara Suzu pretended not to hear at all, and fell directly on Sakakibara Raku's lap. Sakakihara stared at her side face lying on his lap. Aling is very good looking. There is no doubt about it. Not only is he a voice actor, he is also half an idol, and his singing is also very nice. But no matter how outstanding she is, in Sakakibara's eyes, the stinky sister will always be the stinky sister. I really don't know why this girl is so happy lying on my lap on purpose. You should pretend to be asleep, right? Your mouth is curved like a slut. But when she came closer, she still had the scent of a girl. Sakakihara slapped her face unceremoniously and said, "Why did you suddenly fall on me when I know you're awake?" Sakakibara Suzu was not disappointed even after being exposed. Instead, she turned over directly, with her face facing the ceiling, and smiled at Sakakibara Raku's top-down face and said, "That's right. I haven't done this for a long time." "What are you doing?" Raku Sakakihara glanced at Amamayuki, who was watching beside him, and then looked back at his sister, who was lying on his legs and smiling at him. "You see, you are usually so busy, and I am usually so busy. Our relationship has become quite estranged in the past few months. Brothers and sisters, why should we be estranged?" Hey, what are you doing?" Sakakibara Raku saw Sakakibara Suzu taking the initiative to reach out and hug her waist, and almost stood up because of her action. "Brother," Sakakibara Suzu said with her little head half buried in his school uniform. Her voice was very soft and gentle, like a child who hadn't eaten and was acting coquettishly. This is the first time Sakakibara Raku heard Sakakibara Suzu call him, hungry. Sakakihara Suzu smiled lightly and did not answer his question directly. "Thanks for your hard work." "Thanks for your hard work." Sakakihara Raku felt a little dazed after hearing her kind and gentle words. "I know, brother, that you get up so early every day and arrange so many things for yourself every day, because you never want to relax, right? 2 months, almost 3 months. Brother, you have always lived such a life. You really want to work hard, really want to change yourself, really want to change your original ordinary dream of just having enough food, and also to be worthy of Ju Li Yulai, in order to be worthy of Chi Minjiao, in order to have enough strength to shoulder the responsibility. Although I don't like you changing your appearance because of them, as a member of your family, I still see that in this situation, you still choose to prepare lunch and dinner for everyone every day. Day after day, year after year. So, brother, you are really powerful and do a great job. In fact, I have respected you since I was very young. I respect the person who makes toys for me every day, and the person who makes toys for me every day. He took the trouble to come home to me, the brother who always comforted me with the best things and the gentlest words. Sakakibara Raku fell completely silent as his sister held her waist and spoke. Sakakibara Suzu suddenly turned around and faced Sakakibara Raku. "Hey, are you touched by me? What you just said were all lies. How is that possible? What I, Sakakihara Suzu, just said is true. As for why I use this tone now, it's not because I don't want to make the atmosphere so sensational." Aling talked about the past. This made Sakakihara Raku have a deep impression on those good memories of the past. If there was anything he could remember from his childhood, it was the sister who always had to rely on him and cry in front of him. Now he sees that former girl smiling so proudly in front of him. While nostalgic, there is also a sense of relief. "Those words were spoken by you yourself." Rakia Sakakihara smiled. "Brother," he laughed. "Those words that affirm him are the words that he can't bear the most." Sakakihara Suzu confirmed this fact in her heart again. "I'm not doing this just to prevent you from thinking about those unhappy things again. Did my appearance this afternoon worry you? It's really nothing. What's wrong is that I've been thinking about Chi Minjiao and Ju Li Yulai. Really, brother. I can't think of a way, and you can't think of a way. No one in the world can persuade them except themselves. So why not stop thinking about it, brother? You should stick to your previous thoughts now and don't get confused again because of Julie Yulai's matter. I know you are like this because you are soft-hearted and feel sorry for Julie Yulai. But since you have to take responsibility, you can't do it anymore. If you are soft-hearted, you should get rid of both of them now. Let them fight on their own, because sooner or later they will calm down." Aling. When did you say something so insightful? Are you enlightened? I actually think what she said makes sense. Sakakihara Raku had to look at his sister tonight with admiration. "Brother." Sakakibara Suzu suddenly stood up and took the initiative to hug Sakakibara Raku's neck from behind. Then she took the initiative to bring her face close to him and rubbed his face with the tender and smooth skin of her fleshy cheeks. "What are you doing? Zhigzu is still here. It's okay. I just suddenly thought, brother, it's pretty good that you make me food every day. You're so old and you still want to act like a spoiled brat. No. You can only act like a spoiled child to people who approve of it. As for me, I will definitely say, brother is very good. Brother is great. Brother is awesome. It's too boring, go away, I can't stand it." Sakakihara Suzu didn't say anything, it was just a normal approach. After she left, she smiled at Sakakibara and said, "Would you like me to press your shoulder?" Bewitched. Aling must be possessed by evil spirits. Today I took the initiative to help myself wash the vegetables. He even took the initiative to get so close to him and say those words. Where is Tsundere Bell? Where's the fart bell? Why did she suddenly change back to the same Bell she was in elementary school? Don't disbelieve it. To show hospitality for nothing is to be either an adulterer or a thief. Well, actually, the two foxes in Kiju are gone, and I am the only one at home, so I feel much more comfortable. Sakakibara Raku, you mean, you are so arrogant because Nanamayu and Jurili were here before. That's not it. My Tsundere must be trying to get you to pay attention to me. But you only look at how fresh and beautiful the other person is. You can't even listen to what your own sister has to say. Aling's current state is really terrifying. To know that a Tsundere can actually say that she is an Tsundere indifferently, and admit that Tsundere just wants someone to pay attention to her. Then this Tsundere has reached a whole new level. But complaints are complaints. Sakakibara was quite impressed by what Suzu just said. What she said was true. Now only Aling has not made herself feel embarrassed. Maybe during this period, I should be a little tougher and try not to think about Kiju. Ahem, Raku Sakakihara coughed twice after thinking about it. Okay, that's the end of the joke, let's continue with the topic. Good. After the topic was finished, the time had changed from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 o'clock in the evening. After nearly 4 hours of tutoring, not only did Suzu feel really sleepy after listening to it, but Raku Sakakibara also felt a little tired after talking about it. But seeing his sister trying so hard to listen to him and not getting distracted, Sakakihara decided to reward her. Want a late night snack? Yes, Sakakihara Suzu immediately became energetic, and Amami no Yuki also looked over. Okay, how about some oden? I'll go downstairs to buy ingredients. Okay. Do you want to accompany me out for service? No need for this. Sakakihara Raku then went downstairs. After he left, Sakakihara Suzu withdrew her gaze from the entrance corridor, folded her arms and returned to her proud look. Humfuki, how are you? Ling, that's amazing. Right, right. What Ling said is absolutely correct. Le is really happy. That's right. And there's no need for me to lie to you, Yuki. What my brother actually likes to hear most is words that are coquettish to him and approval of his words. Of course, 99% of what I say is true. Brother, he actually doesn't like people lying to him. You have to understand this, Snow. In short, just now was the first step for us to squeeze out Chi Minjiu and Julie Yulai. We must continue our efforts from now on. The rest of the time passed quite leisurely. Eat oden and watch TV. Upon hearing that her brother wanted to study the information given to him by Shigenori Amami, Suzu Sakakihara quickly pulled him back to play games together. Tell him that you can't go to Chi Minjiu's place now anyway, don't be in a hurry. While Sakakibara Suzu was taking a bath, she kept thinking about the way Sakakibara Raku looked at her tonight. That was a look that was so moved and particularly favorable. This is really great. The great plan is currently being implemented effectively. The first step is to let my brother conceptually admit that he has done it. The second step is to make him feel warm. Let him no longer need the existence of those two foxes. The fact that they couldn't reconcile has already caused trouble for me. Wait for a long time to separate. Because they had no one to mediate, they became more and more violent. My good impression of Chi Minjiu and Juliuli isn't going to fall off quickly. Perfect. Sakaki Harasuzu couldn't help but feel proud. She put her thin white hands on both sides of the bathtub, stretched her fair neck upwards, and couldn't help smiling at the ceiling very coolly. There are some flaws in her perfect plan. That is, the old man has another girlfriend, so that the two foxes can fight against each other. Only in this way can the relationship between the two people be eased. But how is this possible? Not to mention whether he would take the initiative to find it? In reality, it is impossible to have such a candidate. Someone actively pursues him. It's even more ridiculous, I won't accept it. If he dares to accept it, his mother, uncle, and grandfather will be the first to ban that person. Simply, absolutely foolproof. Sakaki Harasuzu couldn't stop laughing. By the way, about the second phase of the great plan. Do you want to get under the bed and chat with him today? Let him feel the warmth of having someone to accompany you at night? Sakaki Harasuzu thought for a while. I think I'd better forget it, I'm too tired today. Anyway, we are sure of victory now, and there will be plenty of time in the future. Asterisk. And in the middle of the night. It was just half an hour after Raku Sakaki Hara fell asleep. Tianhai's Higsu quietly pushed open his room, came to his bed, and took the initiative to get in. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 302. Sakaki Hararaku had a dream. I dreamed that I went back in time and slept huddled together with Aling in a 6-story house. Every night she would squeeze into his arms, like an insecure child, seeking an indescribable sense of dependence on her. This represents her trust in herself and is proof of her relationship with her. Seeing her birth for the first time. The first time he saw her staggeringly walking up to him with her legs up. Learned to call brother for the first time. For the first time, I took the initiative to cry in my arms and seek comfort. Being needed, recognized, relied on, and believed by her, it is this relationship that can be built between brother and sister, which forces me to take the initiative to take on half of the family, and forces me to take the initiative. He is her brother, and he is more capable than her, so he really wants to take care of her as much as he can. Raku Sakakibara still remembers the feeling of holding her after crying when he was a child. Not only the trust conveyed from the physical contact, but also the bond conveyed from the heart that she needs herself. As for why the dream I had tonight was so touching. The first is what Aling said to herself tonight. The second is the girl he is holding in his arms now. Her small body was as light as a feather, her snow-white skin was illuminated by the moonlight, and she was wearing a suspender dress that made it seem like she could see the ravine through the moonlight if she took a second look. The way she huddled in his arms and closed her eyes was exactly the same as her little sister when she was a child. Sakakibara pushed her away from his arms. Tianhai's Higsu clearly felt his resistance in pushing her away. The warmth that she had been exposed to when she was curled up in his arms disappeared immediately. Ellie, do you want to get up and go to the bathroom? Did I say that? Sakaki Hara asked. No, Tianhai's Higsu replied. Then why do you ask? Because Ellie suddenly woke up. I suddenly woke up because I realized that I was actually holding someone in my arms. After a moment of silence, Sakakibara said to her again, Yuki, do you still remember what I wrote in your handbook? Tianhai's Higsu replied quietly, remember, Articles 175 and 176, you are not allowed to have close contact with others casually, and you are not allowed to get under the bed casually. What is Nezuki Yuki doing now? Get under the covers. It's honest, Raku Sakakihara complained casually, but that's not why you can get into my bed casually. Tianhai's Higsu suddenly hugged him. Feeling the little head suddenly hit into his arms and close to his heart, Sakakihara interrupted all the words he had not yet spoken. And in her embrace, which seemed to be asking for something from herself, her breathing seemed to have stopped for 2 or 3 seconds. Tick-tock. The only sound left in the bedroom was the shaking tone of the alarm clock. Why are you hugging me like this all of a sudden? Have no idea. Higsu, you understand the meaning of such a hug? I don't know. I just want to be close to Le. Sakakihara sighed in his heart. After spending the past few days alone with Higsu, he fully understood what this girl who could even look at McDonald's family ads was missing. Family, affection, warmth. These are things she has never had before. And as an empty girl who grew up alone without a mother, her heart was so empty that all that was left was as blank as the falling snow. Higsu probably disliked herself very much. From her perspective, few people are happy because of her existence, and few people need her existence. Her father was too old and the head of the family, so he couldn't talk to her much. The servants respectfully call her Miss for them. Taking care of Miss daily life is just a contract in monetary transactions. In fact, Higsu has always been lacking someone who can really get close to her and understand her. So far, it seems that I am the one who has the most trouble taking care of her. Okay, you don't have to hug me so tightly. Your breasts are pressed against my chest. Aren't you angry? Tianhai's Higsu let go of him and kept a normal distance from him. Angry? Why are you angry? Because it violated what Le said. Then did I tell you after that I wouldn't be angry with you because of your proximity? Huh. Tianhai's Higsu blinked and nodded, confirming what he said. Do you remember what I told you? Treat me the same way you treat me. That's right. Look at Ling hugging me like that today. Am I angry? No. Tianhai's Higsu repeated the facts. That's okay. If you hug me, I accept it, but it's not appropriate to hug her like this at night. Even if it's Ling, I will refuse to have such contact with her at night. Sakakibara quickly added another condition, unless she really cries to the point where she needs a hug from me. But even then, it's not like hugging her in bed at night. Sakakihara Raku really has no idea about Amami no Snow. Although she is beautiful and clean. Regarding her mentality, Sakakibara Raku has completely classified it into her attitude towards Suzu. But now I really want to hold Le and sleep. Tianhai's Higsu heard the sound of the bedroom door being pushed open. Sakakihara Raku has been thinking about how he should explain the situation to Yuki. Yuki, as a human in this world, you must control your distance from anyone in this world. Identity, feelings, and acquaintance, these are all building distance is an important reason. At this point, you should learn from Ling. You can see that she is very good at keeping a distance from me, so she will not do anything like getting under my bed. Hey, bro. I'm coming. Just when Raku Sakakihara was earnestly introducing the values of Amami no Yuki, Suzu Sakakihara, who had been tiptoeing to the bedside since just now, lifted the quilt on the side, and lay directly in, slapped him in the face instantly. Sakakihara Raku couldn't help but cover his forehead when he heard his sister's voice. Of course, it was not only Sakakihara Raku who was silent, but also Sakakihara Suzu. Because when she was preparing a surprise for Sakakibara Raku, she didn't expect that he would also give her a surprise. Sakakibara Suzu rubbed her eyes, and through the moonlight, she realized that the person lying next to her was not her brother, but Amami Nazuki. After Sakakihara Suzu saw it clearly, her pupils immediately shrank, and she was extremely shocked. He even rubbed his eyes, wondering if he had seen something wrong. Ling Tianhai's Higsu even called her name. Sakakibara Raku is on the right, Tenkai no Snow is in the middle, and Sakakibara Suzu is on the left. The three of them are currently staying on the same bed in this very strange way. Yayu, Yuki. Why are you here? Suzu Sakakihara reacted suddenly and was so panicked that she quickly supported her body and kept looking back and forth on the faces of the two people lying on the same bed like a couple. Things are in trouble again. Sakakibara pinched his eyebrows and said angrily, I should be the one asking Suzu why you are here, right? Why am I here? Isn't it because I'm unhappy with you that I want to chat with you at night while you're still asleep? No, now is not the time to think about these things. Yuki. Why are you in the same bed with my brother? Suzu Sakakihara asked quickly. Ling said, take the initiative to comfort Le Tianhai's Higsu replied. When Sakakihara Raku heard this, his brows immediately tightened. It turns out that Higsu came here not because she didn't remember what she said to her. Emotions are your bad idea, Sakakihara Suzuki. He originally planned to deal with Higsu's feelings step by step, but this silly old girl was better. As soon as Higsu said this, she thought about getting into her bed again. Ailing, what did you say to Higsu again? Ha! Sakakihara Suzu immediately raised her voice, sat up directly, pointed at the two people and said, you two stayed together and slept together in the middle of the night. I haven't asked you what you are doing. You're better off, beat him up, right? What the hell, if you hadn't said those words to Higsu, would Higsu have come to my bed? Huh? Then brother, don't you know how to lock the door? Sakakihara Suzu panicked, really panicked. His friend who had just united the front actually launched a sneak attack. Sakakibara's forehead tightened again, let's not talk about whether I know what you said to her, even if I do. You still don't know that the keyhole of my room door was blocked with glue by Chi Minjiu. The lock can't be turned. Is it still locked? Do you have time to change it recently? Who knows about this kind of thing? Tianhai's Higsu looked around at the two of them and could only whisper, don't quarrel. You don't know yet? Well, even if you don't know, what are you doing in the room at night? Isn't that because I saw you were bored, so I wanted to come over and chat with you at night to enlighten your heart? What a mess. If you want to talk, just say it during the day. What kind of trouble come to your brother's room at night? I am Sakakihara Suzuya couldn't think of anything. Alright. Sakakihara Raku has experienced this kind of scene countless times, and understands that he should calm down the atmosphere at this time, and then deal with the matter properly. We explained to each other for about half an hour. All three of them understood roughly what was going on. First of all, the reason was because Suzu said something to Yuki, which caused Yuki to think that Sakakibara Raku needed comfort, so he took the initiative to get under the covers. And Sakakibara Suzu thought so herself. After being unable to sleep at night, she was bored and took the initiative to chat with Sakakibara Raku. Sakakibara Raku was just teaching Amami no Yuki what to do. Misunderstanding resolved. Sakakihara Suzu was the first to breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, okay, Higsu is not really doing that with her brother. Thinking about it carefully, she is such an innocent little girl. How could you possibly do something like that? My brother is also a very upright person. Sakakibara put the quilt back on his legs and said to the two sisters sitting cross-legged in front of him. Okay, that's the end of the matter. You all go back to your rooms. I know you want to care about me, but caring about this matter is not something that can be solved by getting into my bed. Just as the relationship between several people became transparent, Sakakibara Suzu also planned to ask Sakakibara Raku about his plans for Emma no Snow. Brother, do you really want to treat Zhigsu as the kind of sister you have a close relationship with? Are you the same as me? Otherwise, look at you, you have never taken any care of Zhigsu. Aren't I the one who has been taking care of her? Oh, Sakakihara Suzu nodded repeatedly, then I will feel more at ease. What are you worried about? It's nothing. Sakakihara Suzu quickly shut up. It's nothing, just go back quickly, and Zhigsu will go back too. After Sakakibara pushed them all back to their bedrooms, his entire tense body relaxed. He lay on the bed and looked at the ceiling. What is this thing called? Playing the same role as the two younger sisters at home, he almost encountered Shurafield. Sakakihara Raku suddenly suspected that he was really lucky in his life and was destined to be a woman everywhere. Speaking of this, Sakakihara Raku missed Kuruori a little bit again. How about asking Zhigsu to help with the method I thought of this afternoon? Sakakihara thought about it carefully and felt that it was not possible. Zhigsu still has a high degree of liking for herself, so if she asks her to help, isn't that definitely taking advantage of her feelings? She was just a girl who drifted with the crowd, but once she was used like this by herself, she was completely reduced to a tool. To use her for other women is really shocking. Sure enough, it's best to leave it alone. At this stage, I don't have any good conditions to rely on others to break the deadlock between Kiju and Kiju. Sakakihara fell asleep quietly while thinking. But after he fell asleep, the bedroom door that could not be locked was quietly pushed open. Tianhai's Zhigsu looked at the bed quietly at the door. She didn't know why she came here again, but she knew that just standing outside the door and seeing someone's face would make her feel at ease. The girl's bare white feet quietly walked to his bedside. The girl looked at his sleeping face and thought of the way in the TV series where the heroine secretly kissed the hero's lips late at night. Happy. Tianhai's Zhigsu doesn't know why she hasn't been able to play the guitar well in the past few days, and she always thinks about a person's name and image in her heart. The image of him making fried ice cream for himself, the image of taking himself out to eat McDonald's alone, the image of taking him to an aquarium he has never been to before. No one cares about him, only he will take the initiative to help him deal with the image of the video. And the life manual filled with his handwriting. Happy times are like a revolving lantern, vividly visible. It seems that the whole world is filled with his shadow. I want to get close to him anytime. Whenever possible, I want him to take me to see more novel things in the world. I also like the view of him yawning and helping me process the video at any time. What exactly do we need to do to maintain these things? She didn't know how to express her feelings to him, and she didn't know how to say such words. Every time I face his problem, I can only say the word like. And in this way, everyone will say that their like is not really like. So what is true love? Tianhai's Zhigsu doesn't know the true meaning of kissing in TV series. But I also know that it symbolizes the birth of a contractual relationship. Whenever the TV series ends and the male and female protagonists go to the palace of marriage, they will give each other a happy kiss. So, she learned that and quietly left a deep mark on his lips. Want to be liked. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tou Lan. Chapter 303. The office is square and spacious, and the desktop is filled with neat documents and reports. Tianhai Madian is carefully analyzing the information of the commercial case, smelling the smell of turning the papers. His face is full of seriousness and seriousness. He just put his hands on the table and flipped through the cases slowly. Even a subtle movement of turning the page seems to reflect his status and temperament. He chewed his thoughts carefully, sketched out every usable detail in the information with a pen, and recorded it in time. Buzz buzz. Amamai made Nori heard the vibration of his phone, and he picked it up without looking at the screen. This is Tokyo Asuka office. I would like to ask if there is anything I can ask you. Mode Nori. Hearing the voice on the phone, Amami made Nori frowned. He put down the phone and looked at it, only to realize that it was a private call. The contact person is still a bad old man. It's not a good thing for the old man to take the initiative to call him. What's wrong with you? Is that boy Raku Sakakibara still studying in your office recently? Give him a holiday. Tianhimadayan put the phone to his ear, flipped through the company information, and continued reading with his eyes. How's the performance? Very good. You can let him understand the financial status and operating conditions of some subsidiaries by participating in annual budget preparation and financial statement analysis. He can definitely provide help and ideas. Of course, I still recommend putting him in the investment department. Ale is in this aspect is more discerning. Then how do you plan to arrange for him? Put him in Chi Minjio's foundation, where it will be easier for him to use funds. Very good. Soichiro Amakai on the other end of the phone praised. 2 seconds of silence followed. In fact, when Tianhimadayan heard this, he noticed something was wrong. The old man could take the initiative to call him. It's definitely not because of this. It wasn't worth calling him alone to ask. And didn't he already know something about the matter that the old man asked just now? Amami made Nori felt uneasy. Sure enough, 3 seconds later, Soichiro Amkai's voice, much gentler than usual, came again. Can Madayan explain to me why you haven't tried to let Xiao go to Chi Minjio's foundation during this period? Snapped. Tianhimadayan closed the company information in his hand. At this moment, he suddenly understood the old man's true intention of calling him. The matter between Ale and Chi Minjio Juliuli is very likely to be exposed. The old man asked this just because he wanted to find out why he kept restricting Sakakibara from going to Nanamayu's company. In fact, it is just an excuse to stir up a topic. Amami Madayan didn't speak, didn't reply, and his expression didn't change too much. It's just like I understand the fact that it has happened. The voice on the other end of the phone suddenly became serious and unapproachable. Now, I need an explanation, you know where. Beep. The phone was hung up instantly. Annoyed. Amami made Nori put down his mobile phone, stood up from his desk, and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window of the office. He looked up at the tall buildings. The building is dozens of stories high, and the dazzling sunlight illuminates the glass curtain wall somewhat dazzlingly. This matter is more annoying than handling the case myself. He is still a brat after all. Tianhimadayan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If it is just a commercial case, you only need to stand on the employer's side and try to collect as much information as possible to effectively defend him. The evidence is fair, the logic is clear, the regulations are well-founded, and a dispute can be resolved without any emotion. But as a father of 3, he had to consider more. Consider the relationship between the 3 people, consider the growth of the 3 people, and consider the feelings of the 3 people. We even have to consider how these 3 children can withstand the impact from the Tianhai family at this stage. You must know that even I only dared to openly oppose the Tianhai family after college. Still alone. What a bastard. When Tianhimadayan thinks of that brat, even though he has been practicing for decades, his state of mind inevitably fluctuates. He closed his eyes again, pondered for a while, and then took the initiative to call his assistant to the office. Boom boom. Knocking. Please come in. Sir, are you going out? Tianhimadayan picked up the suit placed behind the bench, put it on smoothly, raised his chin slightly, and adjusted the collar. Well, I'll leave this to you for the time being. I have sorted out the evidence collection and investigation. You can check the information again for details. We'll discuss the matter when I get back. Okay. The assistant agreed and watched with his own eyes as Amami made Nori, a senior figure in the industry and boss, Walk straight out of the office. Asterisk. Noon, lunchtime. This is also the time when most office workers can take a break and take a short nap at noon. Chiyoda District, a secluded private high-end restaurant somewhere. The style is a typical Japanese courtyard. There are various flowers and plants in the courtyard, which surround a stream. The clear water flows through the stones and through the surrounding bamboo walls, stirring up the transparent water droplets from the starting point. Yan. In this prosperous power center of Tokyo, there is peace and tranquility like a paradise. Next to the creek is an exquisite tea room with a coffee table and 2 cushions. Amkai Soichiro and Amami Shigenori were sitting above. A young woman in a kimono solemnly presented dishes of exquisite food from a tray to a low table. Originally, Amami maid Nori came here and wanted to talk about business with the old man straight to the point. The current situation seems like we can only wait a while. Next to Soichiro Amakai were middle-aged and gray-haired senior executives of various companies, directors and general managers, kneeling in front of him. Without any surprise, they were all observing the subtle changes in the expression on Soichiro Amakai's face. I heard that someone within the company was arrested on suspicion of corruption, which led to several important projects he was responsible for stalling and performance declining. Only the sound of running water broke the tranquility of the tea room. All the senior executives lowered their heads after hearing this, appearing very nervous. Soichiro Amakai ate the broccoli slowly. After finishing the meal, he put down his chopsticks and continued, "The reputation of the company has been damaged, and our customers have also been affected. As the company's top management, shouldn't you be responsible for this?" A group of middle-aged people in suits and ties bowed their heads silently and said nothing. "Say." One of the directors suddenly said, "Yes, Chairman. In this matter, we did not carefully supervise the company's operations." "Is that just that?" Soichiro Amakai glanced at him, "or are employees lacking in education and management? Why didn't you discover this problem?" "I'm sorry, President, we will definitely strengthen management and supervision," a young man suddenly said, and immediately stepped forward, bowed 180 degrees, and apologized. After hearing this sentence, the other middle-aged people who were slightly older couldn't bear to look at him. The largest group of them is the director of the subsidiary company, and the president is the highest decision-maker of the entire group. He is responsible for guiding the company's business policies and strategic planning, and leading the company's development. He is also the highest power representative within the group, and high representative of the chaebol. This young man really wanted to show up in front of the president, so he said such childish words. "I'm sorry. You must be." Soichiro Tiankai took a look and found that he had no impression of this young man at all. He even ignored his apology. The middle-aged director named Yang Chuan, who had just spoken, quickly introduced, "President, this is Moriwaki, the new executive who has just been promoted under me. He has little experience, but outstanding ability. Our company is because of his leadership. The performance of several projects has been steadily improving. It turns out they are of the same lineage." Nagawa Soichiro Amakai said calmly, then took another chopstick of broccoli and put it into his mouth. "The performance improvement you are talking about means that your turnover only increased by 5 percentage points in the 3 quarters. Director Yang Chuan couldn't help but swallowed. This. He was hemming and hawing and couldn't even speak clearly. Amakai Soichiro didn't speak anymore, and even just ate a simple vegetarian meal indifferently. Profits have not increased, and the company has also caused such a scandal. As the main person in charge, I don't need to say more about what will happen next. Go back and wait. Notify." Director Yang Chuan's face instantly became extremely ugly, and his expression became bitter. President. You, listen to me, I will follow you, President. He wanted to speak quickly, tried to defend himself, but was pulled out by two people who suddenly opened the door. As for Mr. Moriwaki who just spoke, Amkai Soichiro didn't look at him again. Next, Soichiro Tenkai divided the punishment according to the responsibilities of these people in this incident, and set a series of goals for them. Although his tone was kind, everyone present knew it. If anyone can't do it, the end will be the same as Yang Chuan just now. After arranging everything, the directors and company executives bowed to Soichiro Amkai and Shigenori Amamai at the tea table, said their excuses for interrupting them tremblingly, and said goodbye one by one with lingering fear. In the quiet and peaceful courtyard tea house, only the father and son were left. Tian Haimadian said, "Yang Chuan, you have been using it for more than 10 years. But he's old. Even so, he still made a contribution. Maid Nori, what I'm saying is that he has an old heart. Regarding corruption, do you think he, as the top manager, would be unaware of it?" Amamai Maid Nori understood what his father said. Even though he didn't understand the details. Director Yang Chuan was probably the mastermind. As for the person arrested for corruption, he was probably just a scapegoat. Tian Haimadian didn't want to care about this and took the initiative to change the topic. "Forget it, I didn't come here to talk to you about these things." Soichiro Amkai took a cup of tea and drank it slowly. "This is the first time in so many years that we sit facing each other like this." "Almost." Amkai Soichiro placed the full teacup in front of Amamai Shigenori. "The last time you came to me, it was because of your affair with Miwa. Others may be afraid of the head of the Tianhai family, but Tian Haimadian is not. Just tell me if you have anything to say." Soichiro Tiankai heard what he said and said, "Why do you choose to hide the fact that Chi Minjiao and Julie Yulai are dating Xiao Le at the same time from me? I thought you should know." "I know. But I want to hear your own explanation." Amamai Maid Nori, "I don't need to pay for your ideas." "Huh, arrogant, do you know how much impact this thing will have on our family? The Tianhai family has always valued reputation. Do you think it sounds good if this kind of thing spreads? These are just family-level things, it doesn't matter to me." "Very good," Amkai Soichiro was not annoyed. "Then how do you explain it as a father? As a father, do you want to see a brat dating your two daughters at the same time?" Of course Amamai Maid Nori doesn't like this. This is not the reason why he took the initiative to hide it for Sakakibara Raku. He could explain, but he didn't want to explain to Soichiro Amkai. "I don't want to say too much." "Don't want to say too much. This is just you being willful. In that case, very good, then I will not agree to the marriage contract between Xiao Le and Chi Minjiao Julie Yulai. I will do whatever it takes to deal with this kind of family scandal. Split a few people apart." Soichiro Amkai spoke decisively, tapping his fingers on the coffee table, and the weight of his words could not be compared to what he had just said. "Someone just happened to make a request for marriage to me. Whether they choose to get married or have someone marry in, they are very suitable candidates. You." The old guy knew very well the rights he wanted to fight for his two daughters. "I just want them to have a space where they can choose freely without being disturbed by outsiders." Compared with the family, Amamai Maid Nori believes that the happiness of his daughter's free choice is more important. He hit his pain point very well. "What exactly do you want to do? How to do it? It's very simple. Take the initiative to restrain Chi Minjiao and Julie Yulai. The actions of your two daughters cannot allow this thing to continue." "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm just making a reasonable request to you. Do you think their behavior is correct? Or do you, as a father, agree to your two daughters marrying the same man?" "Impeccable." What the old man said was impeccable. Amamai Maidani closed his eyes, thinking about all the things he experienced when he was a child. He had experienced quarrels of this magnitude countless times, and now that he was talking about it again, he even missed it a little bit. But very strange. Compared with before, he only felt that this dispute was quite weird. If you want to ask why, it is that the old man does not look as angry as he imagined. According to his previous personality, such dishonorable things would always be executed first and informed later. No one can disobey his word. And he actually told himself first, and then decided to act. On the one hand, he is old and his character has been affected. The second aspect is that he actually wants to control his two daughters through himself. Do you want to make yourself angry? Or is there something fishy? Tianheimedian smelled an unusual smell. I don't deny what you said, but, Xiao, what are you going to do? Brat, he's getting more and more exciting as he gets older. But he didn't think Tianheimedian could guess anything at all. Amkai Soichiro cursed his son in his heart, and came up with the answer he had prepared in advance. That kid should also be punished, but considering your family, I will not choose to expel him. It is necessary for him to distance Ji Minjiao and Ju Liyulai, so he cannot continue to live in your place. Home. What's the meaning? When Tianheimedian heard this, his heart tightened even more. Has this old man really changed his character? When he heard that Raku Sakakihara was dating his two daughters at the same time, he couldn't help but slap him dozens of times. How can this old man calmly give himself such a step down? The fishy smell is even stronger. However, Amkai Soichiro no longer wanted to talk to him anymore. He picked up the chopsticks again and expressed his thoughts directly. The husbands of the second to seventh children either have backgrounds involving the government or are useless people. I don't expect them to do anything good. I'm old too, and you, the treacherous son, find it troublesome and refuse to have me. There are so many things, and Chi Minjiao and Ju Liyulai are even more prostitutes. I don't have any good candidates at the moment, and only Xiao Le is a kid with some talent and a clean background. Speaking of which, he is a bit special. He actually dares to tell you directly that he likes your two daughters. I'm afraid it won't be long before he dares to say that he likes my two granddaughters directly in front of me. It's really interesting. The information that Tianheimedian can summarize is that the bad old man does have a good impression of Xiao. Have the two of them been in private contact? Amkai Soichiro continued, for the rest, I asked Chi Minjiao and Ju Liyulai to transfer to another school and leave. There is no rush in this matter. You can take your time and let a few people's classes be changed first. Don't you also want a few of them? People stay away from each other and calm down for a while. You just depriving them of family contact is completely cowardly. How can this calm down? Bad old man's suggestion. Indeed, as a father, he should agree. But as a son, he didn't want to agree with his father at all. I know what I should do. Amkai Soichiro did not react to this, and said calmly, just from what I said, isn't everything you want to do in your heart, but you are restrained from doing it? I agree with your so-called free choice point of view, but Shijinori, you have to know that sometimes too much freedom will only breed destruction and war.